says lava, volcanic. What can we do? It gets manic. I know what I'd rather. When I pick up the mic, is power. When I pick up the mic, got powers. When I pick up the mic, is power. When I pick up the mic, got powers. Pick up the mic, got powers. 4:32 in the morning. Yeah, I'm still up, you're boring.
Rated T for Teen.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another Smite 2 update show. I'm Titan Dandy. I'm super excited to be here to talk about Smite's closed Alpha 2 update. That's number 2. I'm not alone, of course. I'm joined by some faces you should know and love. We have Pon and AJ here with me today.
Hey, you might not recognize me because I forgot to wear the right shirt, but
There's a reason for that. That's, you know.
I've been around. I've been working on the game for a while, so
Yeah.
glad to be here. Got some fun things to talk about.
Super excited, and we do have a lot to talk about. You ready, Pon?
Yeah, I'm ready. Let's go.
Let's do it. All right. So first off, you know, I always got to talk right at the top. Patch notes should be live right now. There's a lot of things we're going over, a lot of balance, as well as a lot of new things. We might not be able to read off every single number. Checking out the patch notes on smite2.com/news should be the best way for you to follow along and get all of those sweet numbers we might not read off directly on the show. To move forward, we're in alpha still. The only way to guarantee access to this game, for those of you who do not know, is with a Founders Edition. It's a great way to both support us and to make sure that you're playing Smite 2 and getting all of these updates right away. So there are 3 tiers of the Founders Edition. Y'all know what that looks like. Y'all have seen this before. Lots of good to be had here. So if you're interested in helping be a part of the process of making Smite 2 the best Smite that has ever been, consider checking one of these out, as it's the only guaranteed way to get access to the game. That being said, it can be hard to dedicate money to something that you might be on the fence about. So how about this? If you want free access to the game, we got that going for y'all right now as well. I believe there's a chat command, should be !access. That's going to give you a link to a giveaway. We're giving away quite a few codes across 3 different platforms for access into Smite 2's alpha right now. This isn't a founder spec. Let me just warn you right now. This is just access to the game as if it were free to play. So you can hop in and check the game out, and then decide, you know, if you feel like joining us on this journey, or you still provide us feedback, get a Founders Pack if you're interested, but that's the way to do it. So go to that link, and there's a secret password you need. That password, I'll make sure I say it right, is Smite2 Alpha, all one word, and all caps. So Smite2, the number 2, Alpha, all one word, all caps. So make sure you go and type that in. I think you have to follow our Twitch as well, but then you will get a free code, and make sure that you choose the platform that you intend to play on. There's 3 different options. You will have Steam, PlayStation Network for the North America region, and Xbox. So choose the platform you intend to play on and go get yourself a free code. So make sure to check that out, and that's for Twitch chat. So if you're interested, make sure you hop over to Twitch chat and grab that. So
They spamming
awesome.
it in the chat.
Awesome. Perfect. Well, thank you, chat. Chat spam is something I can always rely on. So I guess we're going to keep moving. It's time to just dive right into the stuff we have to talk about today, because there is plenty to talk about. So we're getting into, I guess, what I'm going to call some good quality of life changes. These are just a bunch of good changes that come from feedback from closed Alpha 1 and just, you know, us listening to what y'all have to say. So let's dive into some of the more general gameplay fixes.
Yeah, variety of fixes and new features here, but yeah, so fixed an issue where the arena mode was not granting the correct amount of worshipers. I've seen a lot of discussion about that one.
The grind is
online.
back.
Yeah. Fixing an issue with Mastery 9 took more worshipers to attain than Mastery 10. Just a little miscalculation, you know.
That'll happen.
Easy fix.
Math is hard.
Fix an issue where players could get Deserter when other players exited a ranked match. That's one that's been around for a while. We had that one off and on. That's a tricky one. when the lobby is crashing, sometimes it doesn't know who was the culprit. But there's another fix in for that in this update, so I'm happy about that one.
Awesome.
This is a big one right here. Fixed an issue where stuns, roots, and mesmerizes would still show characters moving for a small distance after being CC'd.
Okay.
So that was a server client type of tech solution. But that was really important because, you know, you're making plays off of that movement.
Yeah, you're trying to hit those skill shots, and if they're still moving, it's weird.
Yeah, exactly. And a similar one with that, dashes, leaps, and other movement abilities have been improved to allow you to keep your max speed as you end the movement ability and let you move in any direction. So you will keep your full speed as you enter into a leap, or what we call a tween, which is what, you know, kind of a technical term for whenever the game moves you between 2 points.
Okay.
Not officially a gameplay term, but yeah, we use that to cover a lot of dashes, leaps, teleports, that type of thing. So you'll be able to keep moving full speed as you enter and exit those.
Awesome.
So both of those are just going to contribute to a lot of like core smoothness of the gameplay.
Yeah, help refine that second by second play. Cool, let's keep going.
Collision systems rework to reduce issues where characters would fall through the collision or become stuck in collision. Oh, Pan, I forgot to check. Did you see if QA gave us a response on that other thing we were looking at?
I can look real quick.
Yeah. You can, double check for me. We'll add it. So a little bit of a new feature here, adding sensitivity steps in the settings menu. You can now choose up to 0.25 increments. So if you felt like something between 14 and 15, it feels right, but it's like 15 is too fast and 14 is too slow, you can now go to 14.25, 0.5, 0.75, or 1.0. So essentially 4 times the granularity in your sensitivity settings.
Very refined.
And because that could be a lot of things to click through, instead of having to manually click, you can also just hold the click to cycle real fast, until you get to like the general spot you want, and then you can fine tune it just from there.
Fine clicks. Nice.
Yeah, so that's a big one. New features. Another new feature here is what this is a term that you might have seen if you play fighting games or other games. So the simultaneous opposing cardinal directions. Is kind of what the feature is, right? We have added this to Smite 2, and we are using the last input is priority as the default setting. So this is going to be, I'll explain a little bit more in the general terms. This is essentially the feature of you're pressing 2 directional buttons at once.
Okay.
How does the game decide?
Yeah.
Right. So Smite 1 actually uses what we would call a neutral setting. So if you press left and right at the same time, those will cancel each other out.
Yeah.
If you're on the neutral setting. So you can change that back if you want, but we're going to be using the default of last input priority, so it'll depend on whichever one you pressed most recently.
Okay.
You'll keep moving. We like this new setting. So first, like I said, you can always revert this, go to your settings, find the gameplay settings, and change it back to neutral if you don't like this. But the last input priority lets you like more quickly toggle between the two.
Yeah.
Because if you're neutral at the split second you're pressing both, they'll be doing nothing.
Still, yeah.
So you'll slow down.
Okay.
Right. So if you really want to get like quicker jukes and change direction really quick, the last input we think is better. So previously we didn't really have this feature like fully designed at all. It was kind of using, I guess, we would say like the engine default or something like that. But we wanted to be very clear about the difference between Smite 1 and Smite 2 here. This is a difference. It is a setting. You can revert back to Smite 1 style if you prefer. Or, as players get their hands on this and we get some feedback, maybe we can readjust the default and only the true juke shoes, only the Barra backsteppers out there will pull out the last prio input. But we know we've got a competitive audience. So we have set it in the way we think is competitive, and it's intentionally different from Smite 1. It's intentional. It's all very intentional.
Yeah.
But it's another nice programming feature coming to this update.
Very cool.
We have changed the default reticle to be the X.
Yeah.
Big deal for some people.
Yeah.
You can always change that if you don't like that.
Plain and simple, change it if you want. The default is X.
We also have implemented the system where you can earn your God Mastery progress in co-op queues, but that will be capped at level 4, so you can't just grind out all your mastery in those co-op versus AI queues.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then an update for the what you had asked for if you had got back. Technically, we're jumping ahead because it's a God change, but we might as well call it out.
Well, I was talking about the core collision rework, and that's why I wanted to sneak this in.
Yeah,
let's do it.
If you've seen clips of Susano launching himself crazy distances where he just flies off into the distance, that was because of the way the collision interacted with an element of the area that was like 1 pixel higher.
Yeah.
And it just sent them flying. That's been resolved.
Kind of like a slide jump, but like up instead of down.
Yes.
Huh, okay.
Flying Susanoo is fixed. Awesome.
Yeah. Well, cool. All right, so that covers it for some of the more general gameplay stuff, but we still have a few quality of life, some really cool updates to keep hitting. So let's talk about art next.
We have a lot of these. Yeah, we have many sections. So let's go. We got Soul and Ymir card arts have been reworked to show more of the artwork. Previously, we had cropped those in a little tighter,
zoomed in.
but now they're zoomed back out so you can kind of see the full art. The Jingwei card art has been adjusted due to player feedback. Mostly it's been a rework of her facial features.
Okay.
So it's going to be more reminiscent of what you're used to in Smite 1, but keeping a lot of the other updates on the detail and accuracy in the clothing and all that other stuff.
Yeah, nice.
Hades' staff in his 3D model has been reworked to the two-pronged bident. And I had, I mean, just to call out, one specific community, we know Reddit was the ones talking about this a lot.
I saw
they were also talking a lot about a Hades remodel, and they even phrased this change as a remodel. This is not a remodel. We wouldn't describe it as such. It was just a weapon change.
Yeah.
That was the intent, was to only update the weapon. There was a lot of various feedback about Hades and a lot of different, communities like the model. Some people had different ideas for different ways to potentially change the actual character model. The one thing that we felt like everybody generally agreed on was the weapon.
Yeah.
Being the bident would be a nice nod to the lore. It would just look cool, things like that. So we did set some time aside to make that weapon change. I think it looks really good.
It does.
Shout out to the communities who phrased that. But that was the intent, was to just change the weapon, not the rest of the model. Our Hades is our Hades, and we love him, and he's a very, very popular god in Smite and in Smite 2. So we don't intend to really change much else.
Cool. And one last thing to talk about in this section.
Yeah, we updated the CC buff bar icons. So, those little red icons that get put above your health bar that show when you're CC'd. Those have been updated to a new suite of more clearly readable art and more modern art. We were just using some old temps there that were they're very colorful, but they were hard to see. They were kind of noisy. They were old. So these are updated now. They'll match the ones that are consistently used in the ability tooltip. So you'll see nice. This is the stun icon. This is the stun icon. It syncs up very nicely, and it's a lot more clear to read and just glance out the corner of your eye real quick to see if you're CC'd.
Love some visual clarity. Well, cool. To keep the ball rolling, we're moving, I guess kind of similar to that, we're moving into more of the UI department of fiction.
Yeah, that last one was a UI art. So it was in the art section, but now we're in UI.
It ties together.
Yeah, we got a lot. For this is only a 3-week update, we got all this, and we go, here we go. So we fixed a variety of issues where settings would reset at unintended times. This still might happen on certain settings and certain occasions. Yeah. Please continue to voice that if you see that, but we did fix many of the situations with this. We've added arrows to the god pages in the front end. So at the top left, you can click the arrow left and right to cycle between gods instead of having to go out and back to the list and click in. Now you can just between the gods.
Nice.
Right?
Cool.
Items in your inventory in the game that are ready to upgrade will now have a gold coin icon on them. So if you look down at your inventory, you see a bunch of gold icons, you go, you got enough gold to go back to base.
Yeah.
That type of thing. That just wasn't there, right?
I missed that feature.
It's all the stuff we have to remake, right? Making a new game. There's a lot of stuff. Yeah. We fixed various issues with the item store that would affect console navigation. This is there's a really loaded bullet point here.
Yeah.
There's so many things we're fixing, and it would take a really long time to copy and paste all these out. So we can give more clarity in the future if we need to. But we did want to talk about here that we fixed many issues involving the item store. We fixed issues regarding console navigation.
Got it.
We fixed issues involving gold displaying properly. So there was times where items would appear hidden, like you can't afford even though you could.
Yeah.
Or you would sell an item and it would display the incorrect gold or something like that.
Okay.
Fixed a lot of issues like that. We fixed some issues using the undo feature. That's always been that's a surprisingly scary tech one under the hood.
Really?
When you think about it, yeah, a lot of players, the ambassadors know because we talked about it all the time, like what weird stuff can happen from it. So fixed a lot of features with the undo button, and we fixed a lot of buttons with click registration. There's a couple places where it would feel like it would take an extra click. I mean, it would take an extra click, and you're like, why? It felt just kind of unresponsive. So we fixed a variety of issues around that too. So lots of fixes to the item store.
Wow, good stuff. Always love being able to navigate that better.
Yeah, opening the HUD overlays on a controller platform or setting will now close multiple menus. So you could open up the tab screen and the shop and stuff, and it will all stack on top of each other, and you can get kind of stuck or confused.
Back out a bunch.
If you're on a console, those will close each other and only open one at a time.
Handy.
The item store's default has now been set back to the minimal setting, so the smaller grids of items as opposed to the full long descriptions. directions.
Yeah.
It's going to be the new default. We felt like in Smite 2 that one just really fit. It was interesting because in Smite 1 we used the long descriptions.
Yeah.
And a lot of people kept that on, but in Smite 2, maybe because the player base has evolved, the item stores, the systems are different. People like being able to see more items at a glance.
Yeah.
So we're switching that default.
I like that.
And we also have fixed an issue where in the player profile page, your player level bar was just, or the level was just not correct.
Okay, yeah, I remember seeing that one. You'd log in and be like, I'm not level 1, but maybe I am. I don't know.
Right.
So, awesome. Well, cool. So we have one more cool thing to talk about in this section, and that's a tutorial, some new NPE experience. So let's dive into the Smite tutorial that we have.
Yeah, as we approach the free-to-play launch in the future, we're going to be adding these tutorial and new player experience features over time. It's a big focus we're going to have. It's going to be ramping up as we go. Yeah. This is just kind of the first one we have for today. Is a basic combat tutorial can now be played through a specific queue. This tutorial you'll play as Neith on the arena mode. Those of you for Smite 1 will be familiar with a lot of the core concepts. It's really just intended to teach you the basic concepts of the game, how to move, how to shoot, that type of thing. We will be expanding these systems over time to help players. Like, learning Smite is kind of a long process. You can't learn all of Smite. If you've never played a MOBA before, if you've never played Smite before, there's a lot of stuff to learn. You don't just learn it all in one tutorial. So we're going to have, a nice roadmap for players to follow where they can get, the right amount of information spread out over time over various different challenges and tests.
Makes sense.
A lot of which we like the idea of overlaying while you PvP, right?
Yeah.
We had a lot of that stuff in Smite 1. So this is just the beginning. A lot of that's coming up. But for now, we have the basic arena tutorial. So if you have a friend who you brought to Smite 2, they've never played before, tell them to go ahead and look at that. In the future, new players will be automatically routed to stuff like that.
Yeah.
A lot of that stuff's not ready yet, but the map itself, you can play through and check it out.
Sounds good. Always a fan of new player experiences. So cool. A good section there, but we got plenty more to talk about, and we are going to keep the ball rolling as we move into now talking about game modes. So obviously we have Conquest and Arena, and we have a blanket of changes for both of them, starting with Conquest and some environmental art changes, it looks like.
Yeah, I think it's time for Ponpon's time to shine. Can we go in game?
Oh, yeah, we can totally look at some stuff.
Dude, we can totally. All right,
there's spoilers. Well, you're good to transfer to me because people already know. They see the patch notes shows.
True. You can see you can see it. Yeah. So.
We ignore who we're playing. We haven't seen this yet.
Yeah, there's a few. So the environment team is still hard at work. We talked a lot about environment art in the last show.
Yeah.
But it's something that's going to be a continual process for Smite too. We're looking at specifically, clarity and performance is still a big important thing we're going to be iterating on. But we're also adding these new really interesting landmarks. So we saw there the giant Medusa face shield wall.
Yeah.
I probably should have come up with a more proper noun. This one I've been told is called the Lich Head.
The Lich Head. That looks right. That looks like a Lich Head.
Yeah, so there's going to be a lot more of these. I think even as Pon, you were flying around there's a couple things that, like I said, me and Pon, we see a lot of stuff trickle in over time. So it's hard for me to remember exactly what players have seen before and what they haven't, but I know for a fact the Lich Head, the Medusa wall, these walls in the lane and the braziers with fire, those are new. Those are better help to distinguish between lane and jungle. There's and those other two big assets. I mean, even like that centaur, was that big centaur? That's new, right?
And keep in mind
that's not in this patch.
Yeah,
that's next patch.
We're in dev, so we might have things that are not exactly going to be there. But to give you a taste of these landmark pieces being added, adding flavor to the jungle, adding flavor to key moments on the map, making it feel like you're really in this mythologically based battleground. Just like this has been like my favorite edition.
Oh, I agree. Yeah. It's so big too.
Yeah,
and you get the view of it all the way down the lane really nicely. It adds a lot. So as people were giving us a lot of feedback about, kind of just rocks and trees, right? And they were right. We were starting off with a basic setup, but now we've gotten through a lot of the core foundational elements. Now we're adding those really cool, new, exciting landmarks. And you can get a spoiler of ones for the jungle camps that's coming next patch.
Yeah,
next patch
in the future. So, and right here it says Gold Fury pad rework as well.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that one. I wasn't sure if we did that one already. There was, I think, a minor rework in CA1, but yeah, it's been reworked again to be even more clear. It's a very high combat zone.
Yeah.
Previously, it was a lot more noisy, had a lot more stuff going on here.
But a whirlpool of gold, and that added a lot of noise texture to the ground, which made particles difficult to read again.
Yeah.
Right. So this one's been cleaned up even further and included some more specific of those cool, like, underworldly, demonic type symbols and themes that the Gold Fury has present on her character model.
Awesome. Well, looks great. So next up we have looks like a returning camp to the map, the Pyromancer.
Yes, a new objective to Smite 2, the Pyromancer. We got a lot of feedback. That's the Griffin thing I was talking about, by the way.
Yeah, I saw the Griffin
Right.
thing.
I think that was already in CA1.
I think I have to actually kill these things first, right?
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
We don't have Pyromancer spawned on the map yet, sorry. But you know the you know it, you love it, the Pyromancer. You got a lot of feedback that you have bots immune. The a lot of feedback that the sort of like mid-game was lacking another objective, and that even with the Nagas in place, there was still like, oh, you're gonna wait the whole time, Pawn. We're gonna so we really needed something else to help bridge the gap, and this is just a really successful and beloved mechanic from Smite 1. So this one's in Smite 2. There's the general mechanics of it are going to work mostly the same. There's not really any major changes. So defeating the Pyromancer will give you the Runic Bomb and will grant your whole team golden experience. The Runic Bomb you pick up with the Interact key. It's put in one of your consumable slots. You can only have one Runic Bomb at a time. When you place the Runic Bomb, it has 2 seconds before detonating, and then it deals 1,000 true damage to structures, minions, or jungle creatures, and it reduces their attack speed. Or if it hits an enemy god, it deals 300 damage and knocks them up.
Nice.
The Runic Bomb also has health and can be destroyed before it detonates by enemies. So pretty much the same flow what people are used to in Smite 1. But the Pyromancer is like a really big deal for bridging the gap between the mid game and the late game. It adds a lot of value to the solo lane side of the map and gives them some really meaningful rotations over there. So a really powerful strategic element, and another exciting thing to do on this Conquest map as we continue to grow with it.
Always love a good siege objective. Cool. So moving forward from there, we kind of have a couple changes that are going to fall under the blanket of objective, tankiness, and gold values. So things like towers and phoenixes, right?
So like, we're doing some pretty heavy balance. In this patch. We're starting with the map, but items is going to have a lot as well.
Oh yeah, quite a lot.
But overall, the state of Smite 2 in this first alpha, it was like hyper paced, super low TDK, super bursty, super fast gold gain. Which is, exciting to a degree, but some of it was being pushed a little too far. So one of the things we're talking about here first, and we'll get into the items and gods as we go, but starting with the map, which is a lot of times when people are talking about TTK and burst, they discuss mostly just items and gods, but the map has a really big impact on that as well. Usually when you're gaining gold much faster than what feels like the general usual Smite balance between gold and XP, you getting gold faster, everybody is more lethal. Everybody is going to be dealing a lot more damage. Their item scaling's online, but their base stats aren't catching up, those types of things. So it makes, especially squishy v squishy combat, when there's heavy gold inflation, is everybody's dying really fast.
Yeah, no base stats to protect you.
So we have a variety of changes here to make objectives on the map more challenging. So those are going to be harder to kill, slow things down a little bit, and we're decreasing the gold value from a lot of things. So just to go through it all, I'm not going to read every number, but towers, tier 1 towers, tier 2 towers are going to have increased health and increased power. So they're going to deal more damage, going to be more lethal, harder to dive, and they're going to be harder to kill. Tower bounties are going to be worth less gold. So those are the new mechanic where the little orbs fly off and you pick them up. I love gobbling those things.
I know, right? They're so good.
Yeah, it's some
so
classic
rewarding.
like Pac-Man level satisfaction from gaming. But those are going to be worth a significantly less gold. From 30 gold to 15 gold per the gold bounties, and from 80 to 30 on the blue bounty, which is the final one. That's over a 50% reduction. Tier 2 tower now grants a different amount of gold bounty, so it's worth a little bit more than the tier 1. So even though it's a heavy nerf, the tier 2 is like slightly less of a nerf than the tier 1 is, I guess you can think about it.
More valuable stuff.
The Phoenix health is increased, Phoenix protections increased, Phoenix power is increased, and Phoenix penetration increased. So Phoenix is going to be more scary too. Fire Giant, harder to kill, increased health and increased protections. Naga Queen, increased health and increased protections. Minions in general.
Oh, minions.
Yeah, this is the spicy ones here. Minion starting gold rewards decreased. That's where we're going to get the main influx of that bloated gold across the map.
It's just earning money off minions right away.
And we also were finding that oftentimes junglers were falling behind in gold, especially if they weren't splitting waves. So that should help the jungle be a little bit more on pace. So the minions are getting the bigger decrease there, but the jungle is also getting a decrease. It's less about a jungle because this is sort of like a contested lane objective, but specifically the gold Cyclops camps are also going to get significant reductions in their gold values.
That makes sense. That is the cash money camp. So
yeah, so this is also going to heavily impact Snowball.
Yeah,
Snowball was a little out of control. As you know, when you have so many things brand new, we would see this at the start of every new Smite season.
Yeah.
Snowball goes way up when a lot of people are learning and a lot of things are new, a lot of mechanics are new, a lot of balance is new.
Yeah.
So this should make a very big impact on the pace of the game, the snowball level of the game, and it's going to affect time to kill and burstiness, although we're still going to address that additionally in items, but awesome. Not through anything too extreme, but through a lot of specific item targeted nerfs.
Yeah, no huge blankets, a lot of very specific targeted stuff. So that all sounds really good. And that does it for the Conquest map, but Arena has some things to talk about. And we're starting off like we did with the Conquest map, talking about environment art. So there was, I think, one change to the Arena environment.
Oh, yeah. We toned back down the saturation just a bit.
Okay.
Because as we were sorting through that feedback, we found that mostly that had been geared towards the Conquest map.
Yeah.
The Arena map was already in a pretty good spot. So that saturation was maybe a little too pushed. So we're just walking it back a tad.
Yeah, that's what I saw people say overall. Like, looks good. Turn the saturation a bit.
Yeah, I did. I remember hearing that I didn't hear it until CA1, but a few Arena mains and ambassadors and their friends specifically said it still felt a little too saturated.
Just a little too saturated.
Which was funny because it was like, first it was like not enough color, then it's too much color. But it's like, no, that's how iteration works. That's how game balance works. It's like the art has to go through the same process sometimes.
Yeah, it's the Goldilocks process. All right, so cool. Next up, we have continued Arena changes. The setup time is being reduced just a little bit.
Yep. Get the game mode started faster.
There you go. Nice and easy. And after that, the basic tutorial, which we'd already kind of talked about, is just mentioned here again. The tutorial that we talked about earlier is in the Arena mode, so you can hop in, play as Neath, and learn the absolute basics. If you have a friend who's never played, it's a great cue for them to jump into and have a wonderfully narrated experience. So awesome. We'll just continue moving forward. And actually, this next section, this next section too, I think that we might need some help talking about.
Oh yeah, queue up Max. I was gonna say I'm prepared to talk about this one, but I would love to have Max on the show, and he's gonna talk us through the next couple sections as well.
True. So you know him, you love him. Max, the numbers cruncher, should be joining us.
And we know everyone's hungry for ranked and matchmaking updates. So
hello.
Yo.
Hey. I'm back. Hey guys, how's it going?
Doing good.
Oh my god.
Sorry.
Happy to be back on. Happy talking about some numbers. We got a lot of out-of-game game systems to chat about.
Yeah, well, I mean, and I think we should just dive right into it, starting with the role preference system. So that's new in here.
Yeah, no, we completely reworked the role preference system for Smite 2. Kind of teased this already quite a bit, but when going into Conquest now, players are going to rank their roles based on like most preferred to least preferred, so 1 through 5. This has a whole bunch of advantages in terms of us assigning roles, but also it gives us really good data on where the roles are at, what people want to play, all that stuff. I don't know, do we have the in-game to show off? Is that something that you can pull up on?
I might be able to.
Yeah, you should.
It
might be in a state of development where it's in, but we definitely shared social media images of it as well.
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, okay. I have it up.
Cool.
Yeah.
Jump in game then.
Let's take a look. What I love about this too is they're not just the order, but they also give some definitions and descriptions and locations about the roles too. So if you're like very new to this system, before you queue Conquest, you'll need to.
There you go.
Do you need to select roles, or are we going to using the default roles? You will.
Yeah, no, you'll have to select. They're kind of ordered in a few different ways that if you don't want to think about it too much and you're a new player, you can select that. There's also fill, but I'll walk through some details here.
Okay.
Here we go.
So what's gonna happen with this system is that you're gonna assign roles 1 to 5, and if you don't get a top 2 role, you're gonna earn an amount of priority for your next match.
Okay.
And that in terms of like getting the most priority to the least, if you get your very bottom role, you're gonna get like high priority for the next match. You should be almost guaranteed your top role or top 2 at least. If you get your 4th role and then your 3rd role, those are kind of the same. But then also, if you decide to queue as fill, you'll also earn a bit of priority for your next match as well. So if you don't have a specific role that you're interested in, but you kind of maybe eventually want to choose to play middle or support, like for sure, you can queue some games with fill, and then you can say your role preference afterwards.
And if you click that fill pawn, you can see your preferred roles there above the queue, or you click fill, it'll take you back. You can see you're now queued as a fill. So that menu right there is where you'll exit that, and it'll show your current status.
Nice.
I think this menu is super sweet, and we should show on the UI whether you have priority for your next match. Not sure 100% if it's in yet, but if it's not in, then we will eventually show you.
I've definitely seen screens where that's in progress, so look out for that. And yeah, the role definitions here are really good. So even if you're a relatively new player, you're coming to the game, when you try to queue Conquest, you see the screen, it lets you know that this is a role-based mode. You should order your roles, and you can kind of get a quick rundown of how each role works right here. You know, just introducing the system like that is really important. People are still, if you're truly a new Smite player, where you're not necessarily going to retain all this information, and we're going to be working more to help them, you know, guide them when they get in the match. But just having multiple places where you're kind of reminded and introduced to it over time is really good for actually building those skills.
Yeah, and I mean, I've talked to some people who internally who have said that getting this system up and running is kind of a stepping stone for a variety of other helpful systems, especially for new players that we'll be able to continue implementing now that this first one is done. So it's a stepping stone to a lot of other really cool things.
Very true.
But awesome. Thank you for that, Max. But we have more that we need to hear from. Moving on to Ranked Conquest. So there are some updates in the Ranked Conquest world, huh?
Yeah, we do. We got a lot of stuff going on with Ranked. I'll preamble a little bit, which is just that the first patch, you know, we got a lot of really great information from. We got some great data from it.
Yeah.
But we're making a few pragmatic changes, that some of them more long term, some of them more short term. But a lot of great stuff came out of the first one, but we obviously encountered like some issues, as to be expected.
Of course.
So right into the changes, going into the second patch here, we're going to be changing it up. So players will now be able to queue for Ranked Conquest in a party of size 1, 2, or 5. Solo players and duo queues will be back into the same queue, and then full parties will only play against other full parties. And to like give a dev note to that, we're internally very committed to making a really successful solo queue option for all players. But at the current, you know, state of, we're in an alpha, our population levels per regions, you know, can be pretty varied. And we actually identified certain tech that we just need to make sure that solo queue and party queues are successful. So we're going to start developing that on the back end. In the meantime, we're going to shift to something that can be a bit more sustainable, get the two most common ways to play ranked, solo and duo queue, into the same queue again. And then just one of the most common pieces of feedback was that 5 stacks have to be against 5 stacks. We thought that may be the case, and then the data started to come in. And even if you exclude like the SPL teams that were, you know, running down 5 stacks with insane win rates, 5 stacks just, they win too much against anything else. So we're going to be keeping those against each other from here on out. So got some great data. We know what we need to do moving forward, but we are making a change that's a little bit more classic. But we're going to keep the 5v5. And as a note for the 5 stacks, queue times, matchmaking, it's going to be varied. Like, we don't have enough people playing 5 stacks for that to be a consistently well-established mode right now. But we want people to be able to, if you have 4 friends, you want to play a competitive game of Smite together, queue up, see who you play against. You can do it for rank, and we'll monitor that and see where it goes. And one last kind of like base change for Ranked Conquest is that time to select a god in the like draft screen, we've lowered it from 60 seconds to 45 seconds. So we're trying to get people into games faster as well. We got one other kind of pretty major change to the rank system. However, there is still going to be a solo queue coming. I don't think that there's much in-game stuff to show off with this quite yet, so you kind of just have to look at me when I talk about this.
That's okay.
But yeah, we're gonna be introducing an elite ranked queue, and this is something that we were designing on the back end for a minute, but we've kind of moved it forward because we think it's going to address a lot of issues we have going on with matchmaking and making sure that like the best players are playing against the best players, and making sure the best players also aren't playing against brand new players. So what Elite Ranked Conquest is it's going to be a separate queue that you unlock when you hit Diamond rank, so 3200 SR. This threshold can change in the future. It's a solo queue only mode, and for players above that rank, that's going to be the way to earn SR and compete on the leaderboard. So there's going to be details. I would go to the patch notes to read the specifics of it all, but Elite Ranked Conquest is going to be the solo queue, elite queue that we have set up for our very top players. We expect those games to be highly competitive. We're going to be monitoring that a little bit more closely than, say, the regular queue. Make sure that matches are going competitive in that queue. And And yeah, I'm jumping ahead to something else. I don't know if we have this in quite yet, but do we have leaderboards ready to show off? Can you navigate to that pond?
I can see.
They might be empty with data, depending
they
on
may
what
be.
dev build we're in. But I've seen them.
Under profile?
Yeah, under your profile,
view,
there's a rank section there.
Leaderboards. They do have dummy data in it, but there is
Dummy data. Show off the dummy data. I think I generated the dummy data.
Yeah, let's see it. It looks nice.
Player name 1 really lives up to his name.
That's true.
Player name 1 goes crazy.
9,775 wins already.
Yeah,
that's some no lifer.
He's dedicated to this fight.
Yeah. So once you the in-game leaderboard, it's gonna show off the top 1,000 players, and then it'll also kind of show yourself and an estimated rank down there. And we got some cool more information going into this than we've had previously. So you see on the right, when you hover over someone, we're gonna be showing off their most played role and also their most played god alongside their wins and losses.
Thanatos.
True.
Hey,
player name 7's
hey, anything's possible in Smite 2.
Yeah.
And that win rate though.
The dummy data is great.
The dummy
data, yeah, the dummy data is really accurate. So for players who really want to compete on this kind of like top 1,000 leaderboard, the kind of general idea is that elite rank Conquest will kind of encapsulate the 1,000 players that qualify for this leaderboard. So it's something to earn and unlock. You can lose out of elite ranked, but you have to drop another rank tier below. So if you are diamond, you'll unlock elite. And if you fall out of platinum, you will lose elite. So you'll have to re-earn it at that point. And we've also made a bunch of changes to skill rating calculations. In the first patch, there was a few bugs. There was just some straight up issues. Party reduction rules weren't working. I'd show people towards the patch notes. I made a chart for people to look at how high the max party rating and like skill rating and how low it can go before you start running into issues. We don't have all the UI in work for that quite yet, so you can refer to a chart I made in Python. And yeah, so we got a whole set of things coming to ranked. We're going to be resetting all players above 4,000 SR back to 4,000. So we expect to see some more competition towards the top end again. And yeah, I think that's it for what we have going on with ranked.
Yeah, so to clarify for everyone in chat, all of that was referring to ranked. That's not going to affect normal queues. You can still play those at any party size. The solos and duos or only 5-man is for ranked, and that's a potential temporary party distribution. We would potentially in the future return to solo queue or 3-mans playing against other types of parties in the future.
I'd even say that it's the plan to go back towards it in the future.
Okay.
But there has to be some technical changes, and there's certain things that we just have to have exist before we let that happen again. So,
and Elite Conquest is solo only.
Elite Conquest.
And once you've qualified for Elite, if you want to play in parties and play in non-Elite, you're going to get heavy SR reductions applied to you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
okay.
It's a 50%. The moment you unlock Elite, it's 50% if you're anywhere else, and if you get past Master, it goes up to 90%. So
and then soft reset for the highest SR players.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Awesome. A lot of stuff. Sorry, those are just some of the things I saw coming up in chat, people getting confused.
Please do.
And for anybody getting confused, there should be, all of this is also written out in the patch notes. So again, smite2.com/news/ a bunch of stuff, closed alpha too. Make sure to check that out because all of the cool stuff that Max just explained is written out in beautiful handwritten detail, including that chart that he made. So that should be in there as well. So, but yeah, really cool stuff. Super excited, Max. Thank you for joining and once again explaining all this all these incredible changes, but we have more to talk about.
Before I go, sorry to cut you off, Dan.
Please.
That's my bad.
No,
I just want to give people a general for it.
Okay.
Because I know that this section in the patch notes, I think it's called ranked matchmaking. We've made a lot of progress this kind of past, especially this last week, on matchmaking features. We're still not matchmaking based on SR, but those features are accelerating. We're going to keep people in the loop, but yeah, we got some exciting stuff coming up. Just wanted to put it out there so people know that work is happening and work's happening fast.
So when people say fix max making, the answer is we're working on it.
We're working on it. It also means max making means talk to anyone but me. It means talk to these guys on the couch, DM them. Yeah.
DM.
Hey, I had to field matchmaking complaints for many, many years, so the fact that you aren't doing it now is a-okay with me.
All you, Max. Well,
No,
again,
people have been pretty reasonable. It's been pretty good.
Yeah, I see that.
it's because you're
That's
such a
awesome.
cool guy. So
That's true. He is cooler.
And thank you for
You're so
coming out
kind,
again
David.
and explaining everything. And yeah, we're gonna keep moving on. So awesome, excited for all of those rank changes. But now we have items to talk about. So Max, you're gonna explain. Oh, he's gone. I was gonna have him explain all the items. All right, so let's get into some items. We have a lot of item balance as we discussed earlier that we want to talk about here. So it's better we get moving. And again, we might not cover every single number, as I just pitched a second ago. Check out those patch notes for all of every single little juicy numerical detail. But we're going to dive right in because we have new and reworked items that we want to talk about, starting with Sunbeam Bow.
Yeah.
This was an item that people might have seen in early testing, but it was just a stat stick.
Yeah.
It's using the Odysseus bow icon as a temp icon with some brighter red coloration there. It's a temp icon. Will be that update. It is not Odysseus bow, but it kind of functions like one.
A little dabble.
It's very different. And so this is going to be, let's see, we're just looking at the stats first, but we're about to go into a few new active items.
Okay.
I want to make active items more exciting, more unique. This is the first few. We're going to do a few new ones, and then we're already looking at ones that are existing to potentially change in the future. But today we got some new ones. So Sunbeam bow is an active toggle.
Okay.
First active toggle. So you can toggle this on or off all you want.
Bold.
While it's active, you will fire 2 ranged projectiles with each of your basic attacks, and they're offset just a little bit to the side.
Yeah.
These travel the full basic attack range, and they deal 20 base damage plus 20% of your basic attack damage as magical damage. Item drains 5% max mana per second while active, so your mana goes down pretty quick.
Yeah.
But you can toggle this on to get a wider basic attack, essentially with bonus damage on the side. So if you hit like in the dead center, you effectively get a bunch of basic attack damage, but also helps you get some more chip damage. And what I think is most exciting about this item is you can buy this on a melee god.
Yep.
And you can toggle it on, and you could be swinging your sword and shooting
Iron
these
projectiles.
beams
That's awesome.
at range. This is a strength and mana regen and attack speed item, so it's going to use a lot of your mana. So it's got mana and mana regen, but it was always kind of the stat slot we were working here was a sort of another strength attack speed item.
Yeah.
So that's where this item is positioned stat wise, and then you can active toggle it to do that cool effect. We could probably show it in game if we want, Pon.
Yeah, I have it up.
Yeah, let's see it. Do you have it on Amaterasu?
Yeah. So this is not
Yes.
this is not new to Amaterasu. This is not.
Yeah.
Yeah, people probably clip this and be like new Ama feature. Actually, oh my god, I didn't even think about that. When I originally pitched Amaterasu in season 3, this was one of my pitches for her, was to have like a basic attack ranged basic attack stim on a warrior.
Wow. Full circle.
Yeah, I didn't even remember that until right now.
I am also going to mention the tech of it. It's for every single auto attack you fire, including hit chains. So the secret tech of Loki with his rapid attacks. Will
Oh, no.
more of these off.
So you toggle it on just for the fast attack and then toggle
Yeah.
it back off.
But you can see I actually drain my mana really, really quick.
Yeah.
So you got to make sure you're managing it well.
Yeah, that's like a big team fight scenario. You're like, all right, it doesn't matter if I keep mana after this. It's win or lose.
And it's scaling off your basic attack damage, which means it's going to scale off strength and mostly strength.
Yeah.
And some int. So, building this on full tank is not necessarily going to be that effective.
No.
But a really cool item, something we've never really done before. You can give a melee attack.
Yeah.
Can now have ranged attacks.
It also opens the door for us to mess around with toggles in the future.
Yeah, I was about to say.
We have another toggle item coming up here that also utilizes that feature.
Yeah, the toggle tech is very exciting, and let's continue talking about it with Eye of the Storm.
So this was an item that's just been a stat stick for a long time. Didn't really have anything else going on.
Yeah.
We've had a couple passive ideas for it. We always wanted to have something. But this active effect, so this item is being a bit 15. That are not the same stats on the lower thirds that I have on this page.
Yeah, it should not have int.
It's okay. That I think was the copy paste issue or something like that. But Pon, can you confirm in the game it's both protections and health?
It's protections, health, and strength. Although I am on the dev build, so I don't know how much balance that we've done since then matters.
Okay. Yeah, I thought the stat rework wasn't that crazy for it. So it generally gives you the stats that it was before, which was strength, both protections and health. But now it has another active. Yeah, this is all the wrong text. Sorry,
This is
guys.
the next
copy
item.
paste. The next item got mixed up. We can go in game for Eye of the Storm now instead.
Yep.
So this is the other toggle. So like the Sunbeam bow is like the DPS toggle. This is like the tank toggle. So you toggle this on to create a vortexing area around you. It drains 5% of your max HP per second while active, and it automatically deactivates if you get to 200 HP and you can't activate it anymore. Actually, maybe you can. But yeah, it lets you have a vortex CC that you can, as I'm fly around with and slow people down, pull people in, but it's going to increase your chance of dying while you're at it. And you can see that item, it's hitting you with item damage as it ticks.
Yeah.
Yep.
Can you reactivate it now that you're too low?
Why tick to you?
Like let it tick down. I didn't think you could. Oh.
Yep. Now it's off.
Oh, and nothing. It's not. It won't talk. Yeah. So you cannot kill yourself with it.
Smart. Another very cool item, man. These toggle items are going to go so hard.
Yeah. So we had active items, but most of them were just activate on a long cooldown. These are toggles. You can toggle them on and off, and they have a lot of what we think are more unique applications. They have a lot of unique possible opportunities to adjust in the future.
Yeah.
If they're too strong, too weak, we have a lot of cool ideas for how we might want to adjust them. So we're excited to see people test them and get their feedback on them and go from there. And we have one more new active item.
True.
This is a totally new item that we hadn't seen any iteration before in Smite 2 before.
All right, it's called Lifebinder. You might have seen the stats for it somewhere.
Right, we did just show it a second ago. So this is a medium or even a little bit cheaper gold item. It's a low int, high health and cooldown. And this has an active that sends out a projectile that deals base plus per level damage. So this can work on tanks.
Yeah.
Work on tanks. Tanks effectively get a ranged poke ability from this. Or you could use this on a major, anyone, I guess.
Yeah, anybody.
When it hits a god, it'll deal that base plus per level damage. It'll also mark them for 6 seconds. And if an ally damages that marked target, it'll consume the mark and shield and heal that ally.
Okay, very cool.
So like, as a tank, you'll be like, yo, get them.
Yeah.
You poke them, you mark them, and then your DPS your jungler can dive in and hit them, and they'll get a heal and a shield for hitting the target you marked.
Yeah.
And getting kills or assists will reduce the cooldown, so you can continue using that. It gives you a bit of a backliner support.
Yeah, for sure.
Feel, as well as some playing around with melee and ranged diversity, which usually like gods who couldn't poke now have an opportunity to poke. It's been a really fun item in playtesting. Pon, can we check it out?
Yep. And again, I will mention we're in dev, so I actually think some items are starting to get a VFX pass, so you might see some stuff that you won't see exactly in the same way. But
all items in CA2 are still using temp effects.
Yes.
And a lot of temp art. But yeah, let's see with the full range of it. Can you back up a little bit so we can see it?
How far? Oh, wow, that has quite a range.
It's longer than melee attack range. I think that targeter, yeah.
That's cool. It's like a wave, too, it looks like, at least currently.
And you can see that I have the mark on them, and then right now it isn't consuming, but it will consume. And so when I actually
consumes in the Alpha 2 patch, it consumes.
Yeah. Well, it looks very good, very easy to identify as well, and yeah, super cool. I mean, that'll be a great duo lane item for boxing. You set up that against the enemy god, and then you go to trade, and you win those trades. So
it's just fun to shoot it like at people too. Like it is really fun.
Yeah.
Sunder plus Lifebinder Guardian build, maybe a meta thing where you can get even more additional activated damage.
Might be popping off a little bit.
Yeah, there's some really cool possibilities with this item.
Awesome. Well, we have one new item to talk about, and that is Avenging Blade.
Yeah, we wanted another. This is heavy strength, but with a little bit of health. We wanted something that was kind of aggressive, could flex between warrior or jungle.
Yeah.
And it's got a really unique passive here where the passive only works in the jungle. Damaging an enemy god with a basic attack while in the jungle slows them and reduces their protections.
Yeah.
So this is a really powerful leveraging item. So if the other junglers really bullying you, you can opt into this to maybe counter them, maybe prevent them from invading if they've been spending a lot of time in your side of the jungle. And if they don't have it, you'll be at a bit of an advantage in the jungle, but you'll be giving up potentially, passive effect that you wouldn't be getting in the lane.
Yeah.
Or sieging a base. We had some things like Protector of the Jungle in Smite 1 that we liked a lot when we were brainstorming around those types of things. We wanted something a little bit more active and meaningful. It's like this has a proc, as opposed to the Protector of the Jungle was just on.
Yeah,
it just affected everything.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't really notice it. You wouldn't really pay attention to it. You just trust it was good. But this one you actually can feel and see, and it has some interesting like counterplay to it, whether or not, because like starter items are very restricted and they're very telegraphed.
Yeah, of course.
Whereas like this one, you don't know if someone might like, you've been maybe winning all of your fights 1v1, a jungler versus jungler in the jungle, and then all of a sudden one of them shows up with this and it changes the whole dynamic of the fight.
Yeah, they buy the I own the jungle item and it goes crazy. Well, cool. Another really cool item.
4 kind of like new items for this patch, or reworked items. I mean, the ones before were essentially had nothing there before. So
yeah.
4 new items for this
patch. 4 new items, a new toggle tech. You love to see it, but the item train does not end there. And the next stop is Relic. So we have some Relic balance we're going to talk about.
We should have done this order differently because I know everyone's going to be screaming about the one we're going to talk about last.
Fair.
But for the Relics, we're just doing some general balance to try to get them all feeling like they're closer together in overall power level.
Okay.
So there was one that everybody was saying was really, really, really OP.
Yep.
That's going to get nerfed. Sunder's going to get nerfed. We'll get there in a second.
Yeah, we'll get there. Grand finale.
Combat Blink, everybody still loves, and a lot of people are still like saying, don't nerf it. Let's just adjust around it. Like, let's still try to get the other relics to better compete with Combat Blink. Okay. So like Sunder was just like way OP, was causing some big issues, and Hyper Snowball at early game and multiple copies of the item.
Yeah.
So that one's getting big nerfed. And then the non Combat Blink ones are getting buffed to better
to rise to that level a little bit.
Exactly. So we got Purification Beads, decrease cooldown.
Nice.
We have the Aegis of Acceleration, increase the duration of the movement speed buff that triggers, after the immunity effect. We got Phantom Shell, increase the HP per scaling, so going to be a little better in the late game, and decrease the cooldown.
And then the one.
Yeah. So the Sunder nerf. So essentially the initial level 1 jungle damage is being cut in half. We talked to some pro players and some ambassadors, and they felt like this 200 felt like that had counterplay to it. Like the 425 was just like I win button.
Yeah.
But 200, you can kind of play around it. You can anticipate it. You can maybe outburst it to outcompete it without when you don't have it. Things like that. So that's a big nerf. We also nerfed the player damage. It's going to have less ticks, so that makes this math like a little harder to tell. It's going to tick a little bit. It's only going to tick 3 times instead of 5 times, but the total damage has been adjusted, so it's also a damage nerf.
Okay.
Because long dots can just be frustrating and can feel inescapable.
Yeah.
And, interrupt you and things like that. So it's going to tick only 3 times instead of 5, and the overall total damage it's going to deal to you is also pretty significantly increased, and then also just a little cooldown increase. Pawn, anything to add on Sunder?
No, I think just mainly, especially when we're talking to people, the kind of invadey style of play where you're having to defend your jungle and people can start in different places. People are enjoying it. Just this made it too easy to just be like, I default win because I got there first and I had the button.
Yeah.
And so this opens up that play style to still be good, but not to just absolutely run away with the game with, and gives people counterplay opportunities. So it should create some really interesting dynamics in the jungle without being too much of a nerf to the item. Just a nice adjustment to make it fit more with where it really needs to.
And teetered more towards, or I guess away from, that snowball thing that y'all were working towards getting away from. So
this was a big contributor to the snowball.
Snowball thing, yeah. Awesome. Well, we have plenty more to talk about, and on to consumables now. Starting with the health chalice.
Yeah, Health Chalice has mostly just fixes, right? It was healing less than the normal potion that wasn't intended. It will now change its icon to properly show you it's empty. We fixed an issue where it was actually only giving you 2 charges of healing instead of the 3, and we have adjusted the stacking rules. So those are going to work more like Smite 1. So Health Chalice will effectively stack with healing potions in potion stacking rules. So I mean, you can't have double healing going at the same time. That's not allowed.
Yeah.
When you activate a chalice or a regular potion, you're going to get the potion healing effect.
Boom.
And the way you stack that is to increase the duration. This is like what Smite 1 has. You can activate your chalice instead of potions and chalices having cooldowns. You'll be able to activate them more quickly and stack up the duration.
Yeah.
But we do not intend to let you have multiple different healing potions running at the same time to double up the burst healing.
Yeah, just one really long healing potion.
Yeah, so this is kind of covered by this next bullet point. Thank you, production, for jumping right to that. Potions no longer have cooldowns. Potion durations can stack up to 3 times. And this health and health chalice all contribute to the same type of stacking effect.
Same pool.
Right.
Awesome. And then there's one other thing to talk about, and that's the variety of wards that we have.
This is a big one, sorry about this one with all the last minute active item changes, consumable changes, everything we did in CA1. We changed the whole game in CA1.
Yeah.
Some little things got missed. So wards now have the proper Smite 1 duration of 180 seconds that, you know, with consumable wards, it makes sense to do that. When we were giving everyone's for free on cooldown, we wanted them shorter, more frequent, more quick loop, and the cooldown was lower. But now that you have to buy them, they're potentially rarer. We have the full duration, and the player who kills them will now gain 50 gold. Pon, anything to add here?
This also does count for the Eye of Providence. It does provide 50 gold as well, just as a note there, because it is the Eye of Providence one is a sentry ward. And we might change that going forward, so I just want to make a note that so people are aware of it. That might change going forward, but it will work that way this patch. So Eye of Providence, that one gets placed down, will give gold to the person who kills it.
Any ward you kill will get the gold.
Yep.
So there's no special exceptions. And if that makes Eye of Providence a little weak, maybe we'll be buffing that item. And, you know, that item was more designed without consumable wards, so I think we have to look at that one anyway. But as of right now, as a support player, I still love having Eye of Providence. It's just like the extra warding, I think, is really valuable. When with these longer durations in playtesting, it's been really valuable.
Yeah.
So,
Vision is never not valuable.
Yeah.
So next up on the list, we have a single point under this next header, and it is a very big, bold, underlined point. We have a crit change.
That's right. When people were talking about wanting a nerf, what we were seeing a lot was nerf crit.
Nerf crit.
Yeah.
Got it.
So this is like probably the biggest nerf of the patch. A lot of the rest of the nerfs are a little bit smaller, but we're just decreasing the actual critical strike damage factor from 1.75 to 1.65.
Yep.
Yeah.
There you go.
So that 10% less damage on every crit item, it effectively nerfs, you know, every crit item, every crit.
Yeah, every critical hit.
That Jing Wei, she's going to get her own nerfs. Some of the crit items are also going to get other nerfs just to make sure.
Of course.
But yeah. That's the one to kick off our like items section. And as we go into all these items, really what we're going to see is a lot of the top performing burst items getting nerfed.
Okay.
That's going to include a couple different categories, but essentially we're nerfing a lot of the really OP stuff.
Yeah.
And we'll share some things as we go, me and Pon, about how we think that maybe will affect things that aren't even listed directly in the patch notes, but it'll still have an effect on those things.
Got it.
And I do also want to mention one other part of the crit nerf is there's a lot of the characters that have that kind of extra bonus scaling on their in hand. So think Crit Ymir, think Athena, where they get really big benefit from crit.
Yeah.
And this nerf, as well as how it interacts with items, allows us to keep those feelings strong when you aren't building crit, but tone down that effect when they do decide to go that crit path. So it keeps that being fun for the more general application case when they're building differently, without us having to tone it so far down that it doesn't feel like it hits at all when you're playing a non-crit build. So it just gives us more fine control. That's why we went this route over just strictly nerfing the crit items.
Awesome. Love to hear it. Well, with that being said, let's start talking about some of those nerfs, starting with stacking items.
Yeah, so essentially all of the Smite 1 stacking items we brought over are mega OP.
Yeah, very efficient.
Like, insanely OP. If you want to get the most out of your last few games before the next patch, you should be building these items in whatever role you can.
Literally from the devs.
Yeah. So Devourer's Gauntlets is going to get decreased initial strength and decreased strength and lifesteal per stack. It's just was giving way too many stats in general.
Got it. Transcendence up next.
Yep. Transcendence is going to see a similar nerf to its stats in the base strength and the decreased mana per stack. We didn't want to decrease too much the like unique effects on these items. So the mana to strength conversions and the flat penetration, because this is the only place that's really accessible in those items. Of course. With a slight exception for Book of Thoth, because Book of Thoth already had higher mana to int conversion, but you already generally get more int and more mana on int items, so it was like really, really double dipping. So you're going to see a decreased base intelligence in the Book of Thoth, as well as decreased mana, and a little touch to that mana conversion into int, because it's just these items are just giving so much power.
Awesome. And then the last of those is Gauntlet of Thebes.
And then Gauntlet of Thebes is going to be nerfed as well. And I got to put a couple, Pon and I, we got to put a couple asterisks on this one, because like this one just was wildly OP. Yeah. But we know that a lot of people were saying tanks did not feel effective in the patch. So we want to say, like, even though this one's being nerfed because this was like super mega mandatory. If you didn't buy it first, you were trolling.
This was about 2x effective compared to
2.7 or something items worth of stats
compared to like every other item in the game. And so it became you must build this or you are actually not going to be able to play.
Right. So this one's getting nerfed to be actually more in line and a more reasonable amount of stats that you would want as a tank. You still might want this item, but to let it better compete with the other items. And then a lot of the other things we mentioned today are DPS nerfs. Virtually every other change you're going to see today are burst damage nerfs, and we have a bunch of other tank item buffs
Yes.
So
True.
overwhelmingly, this patch is a tank buffing patch.
Yeah.
But this one little, asterisk is on it because if we left this in place, like there just was a very hard path to get to balance.
Yeah, our goal was this item should still feel good to buy, but it shouldn't feel mandatory anymore. And we've done a lot of other tank buffs so that other tank items that felt underwhelming feel good. And we also have, as you're about to see, a whole bunch of things that are going to directly affect how effective people are at killing tanks.
Right. So the next section, segues right into this. Thanks, Pon.
Yeah.
Penetration items. So we're nerfing a bunch of penetration items.
A lot of them.
Again, most of this came from a lot of the Smite 1 ported items being ported over all at once. They brought a lot of sources of penetration and very high amounts. So many of these items are going to see adjustments to that. So
let's dive in.
Titan's Bane, decreased cost and decreased pen. Obsidian Shard, decreased cost and decreased pen. Serrated Edge, decreased cost and decreased pen. And Spear of Desolation, decreased cost, decreased pen. Yeah, so 5% pen off of all those items.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in a
Right
lot of
off the top.
cases, the builds that people are really building that are very optimal right now, they are now just 10% pen less, which is a pretty substantial amount of DPS loss, especially against tankier targets.
Right. And in most of these cases, we didn't adjust the passives, and we feel like, two of them don't have passives, but we're doing a bit of a shift here, not just a true nerf. So they will be a little cheaper.
Yeah.
Which actually, I think, still makes them really interesting. You can still rush them. A lot of these types of items, people do like to rush, Serrated and Spear especially.
Oh, yeah.
So you do get them a little cheaper, but just like that top end, like full pen build, people were usually building at least 2 of these. Many builds would include Spear and Gem or Shard or Titans and Serrated, right? So you're losing 10 pen from those builds from building each of these. So,
overall period.
right. It all stacks up.
All right. Spear of Desolation we just talked about. So Hydra's Lament up next.
Yeah, this is not a pen item, even though I should have reordered this. That's my bad. There's a few other pen items, but this is just another extremely popular, powerful item. So just seeing a base strength nerf on this. And I think we were undervaluing the value of the passive on this one.
Okay.
So no shift, just a nerf.
No shift, just nerf. All right. So now we're into the Crusher.
Yes, so let's see. We're into kind of like, this is a section like Hydras and Crusher and stuff are bonus proc items. So bonus proc on Hydra was really strong, so nerfing the base stats. Crusher bonus proc is really strong. This one maybe not as strong as it's been in some historical Smite metas, Pon. So just a little nerf, but like we know the proc damage builds are out there doing work.
Lurking.
Yeah.
Speaking of the next one, right? This was the one we know really needed it. Heartseeker.
Yeah.
So it looks like 3% to 2%. It's only 1%. HX is not very big nerf, but it's 33% of the total items damage from that, right? It's a pretty large reduction.
Literally 1/3. Yeah.
This item was putting up numbers.
Yeah, we were seeing builds where people were largely like just Loki decoy, and they did a metric ton of damage with all the procs, and that should be a lot more reasonable now. It should still feel pretty good, but it shouldn't just absolutely destroy someone walking forward.
Right. So as we see, like we get to the future, there's not a specific Loki nerf.
Yeah.
That's because we felt like he got hit so hard with a lot of other anti-burst stuff, map pacing stuff, snowball stuff, and these items, so he doesn't have a direct targeted nerf, but there are still some gods who do. So Loki just felt the one who was like most susceptible to all these other changes, so he doesn't have a targeted god nerf.
Yeah, no need to kick him while he's down. So Demon Blades.
We'll see. He'll probably sneak back in as he always does. I
Loki.
saw a lot of the top ranked players grinding Loki for sure.
It is Loki.
Loki's been one of my mains because I've been maining jungle and he's been really good too. So
Zeus.
All right, moving on to a few of the crit items. Like we know we nerfed the crit damage, but also we felt like the crit items were just giving you a bit too much of everything.
Yeah,
so like Demon Blade decreased the percent on the attack speed on the passive, and Musashi's decreasing the percent of the movement speed on the passive.
Yeah.
Crit you need to kind of build around, but getting so much of everything really makes those builds just like too strong. No brainer.
Yeah, too much stat with the crit.
I guess I lied. We do have one other support nerf out here.
Amanita Charm.
Amanita Charm. The most, another super must-buy, super powerful team item. So slight decrease here on the total all active effect. But as I said earlier with the active items, we're going to keep iterating on the active items, looking for the right place, the right power level. But this one was also super mandatory, right? At one point in one of the tournaments that we see the 4 mushroom team or something like that.
A solid build path.
So sorry, had to be it's the tears with the gun meme. It's like, sorry, supports, had to do it.
Yeah, right. All right, so moving on, Warbanner's the next one.
Yeah, I put this one on here because this was terrifying some people, but in the game when you looked at Warbanner, which is the upgrade of Warflag, it listed the same exact stats as Warflag. That was not the case. It was giving you the same stats as the other upgraded, the heroism starter.
Yeah.
It just listed those stats wrong. So this is technically just a bug fix. But there was a lot of people out there who were like, oh, War Banner sucks because it doesn't get any stats when you upgrade it. It just changes the passive. But no, it did all along. But a lot of people thought it was like nerfed intentionally or something like that, or they weren't sure. So wanted to put it here and make sure we reiterated it.
Yeah, it was a UI nerf, but we undid it. So
yeah, we're not doing too much starter item changes, huh, today, Pawn?
Yep.
no, we only have. I mean, we have Bluestone coming up next.
It's definitely something we're going to look into in the future. But the one that we heard across the board was like overperforming the most was Bluestone.
Yeah.
And the upgrade.
Yes.
So like we didn't want to nerf Bluestone and buff Axe and like create like an overcorrection.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, we're also like globally affecting pen with all the pen items is a pretty big game change, as well as crit. There's a certain amount of let's make sure that we're hitting the things that need to be adjusted, but like there's a lot of variables that can create unbalanced situations. See how this all resolves, and that informs us of our next steps.
We have heard that Axe maybe is still a little underpowered, potentially even with this change going into effect on Bluestone. And we'll want to do a little bit closer look at some of the other starters and see if anything stands out as, you know, 2 stacked in one item's favor in each of the roles, because there's pretty clean like 2 per roll right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, this one for now. This one was the one that was outperforming everything else.
Awesome. So yeah, and that was both the first and the second tier of the item. And then the final item that we're talking about in this section, Bloodbound Book, getting a little bit of a shift.
Yeah, this is a shift, and we've seen a few more reports of other issues like this, so there'll be more of these, but we're trying to avoid issues where you could decrease the number of stats you get from upgrading an item.
Yeah.
Because the new system makes that possible in a lot more ways. So Bloodbound Book actually needed to have 15% lifesteal in order to do that. And in order to get lifesteal is really powerful in Smite too.
Oh yeah,
because it's ability and basic attack lifesteal, and it works on magical and physical or whatever. So it's like it works for everybody. So the cost had to go up with that as well. And yeah, we know there's a few more issues of similar things like that. Shout out to the ambassadors for reporting those. So expect to see more changes like this in the future to avoid losing stats as you go.
Awesome. Love not losing stats.
All right, now the fun part, right,
Now,
Pon?
Buffs.
The fun part.
We're on the buffs
We're
now.
in
Tank
the
buffs.
Yeah, just
right.
lots and lots of tank buffs.
All right. Well, Pharaoh's Curse be upon ye. What's going on with Pharaoh's Curse?
Yeah, so I mean, we can just start going through this list.
Yeah, please go for it.
We had a lot of underused items. We saw some underperforming items. Now that we're getting a lot of data from a lot of people really trying these things, we can really clearly see. And one common trend was, yeah, our tank items were just undervalued. They weren't providing what they needed to. So you're gonna just see a lot here. So first off, Pharaoh's Curse, 10 extra protections, just a straight up increase of the protections that it has. Going into Leviathan's Hide, the strength debuff on the passive effect has gone from 10% to 15%. So this should be a lot more potent.
This is wild.
This is wild.
This can really, really mitigate the damage coming out from a target. Just gives a lot more flexibility, a more targeted counter. Spectral Armor, this goes from 35 to 60 protection. Nearly doubling.
Yeah.
Again, we're seeing how undervalued these items were. They weren't providing what they needed to, so a pretty massive jump here.
Nice.
Hide of the Nemean Line, I think got the crown for the least winning item. It was
The losingest tier 3 item in the game.
Yeah, I think it was the losingest one. So this gets 15 armor as well as increased
Safe place to start for reflect damage.
Yeah,
I think it's quite prudent of us actually.
True, yeah. Reflect damage is a very touchy subject.
It can be dangerous.
We are also increasing the reflect damage and the prots, but this should help it be a lot better off. Going on to Stampede, which is our next one, we've increased the protections from 45 to 55. You're starting to see a trend here on stuff we're doing.
Especially these items with only one type of protection.
Yes.
Because we added a lot of dual protection items, so we need to outcompete those. If you're going to buy a single protection, you need to really feel it.
Yeah, and so, if you're like, I really need physical protections because this person on the team is really shredding me, it needs to feel impactful when you buy that, and you need to feel meaningfully that you have stopped that incoming damage.
Yeah.
Stampede. Getting a 10 protections increase from 45 to 55. Moving on to Talisman of Purification.
Okay.
The magical protection has gone from 30 to 45, so just giving a bit more magical protection as you cleanse your team.
We just want to see people using these actives too, like this AoE beads. Like we think it was a little over punished for the effect.
Yeah.
Like that effect is strong, but it's still situational. Requires a lot of heads up play, making good decisions. So that stat was just too restrictive.
Next one up is Phoenix Feather, the secondary cheat death, pretty much.
I love this one.
We got extra health on there, but also the main thing is the increased magical protections, really helping you against the magic burst.
Yeah.
This item is sweet.
Yeah,
It
this
is a
item's really
sweet item. Health tanks love me.
Oni Hunter's Garb, again getting that magical protection increase from 50 to 65, more targeted against magic damage. Scepter of
That's it for the tank ones.
That is
now this is
yes.
just the other underperforming items, some of which were still tanky.
Yes.
Tanks
so,
eating.
Scepter Dominion, this is the one that creates a stasis field where no one can do anything, including your own team.
So fun.
That has now been cut in half. This item will be a lot more frequent when people decide to pick it up.
I love that.
Which can increase some interesting plays. So let's see how that goes. That one will be fun. Jade Scepter. We've doubled the health on it, so from 100 to 200 health, giving it that extra little bit of tankiness as you get that utility for your team.
Yeah.
On to Wish Granting Pearl. This one is the, I believe it's the health and int one.
Yeah.
That combination of stats are just a little bit inefficient together, so giving it that extra intelligence so that it really stands out, feels really potent when you build it, and you're trying to play that kind of more bruiser intelligence user role.
Awesome.
On to Golden Blade. The recipe cost has been decreased, allowing you to get this for 100 gold cheaper, so just a little bit easier to pick up, a little bit easier to curve into your build.
Golden Blade in Smite 2 scales off of the bonus damage scales off of protections.
Yes.
You really kind of leaned into making it like a warrior item because that's where we saw it a lot more recently in Smite 1.
Yeah.
Which will be better now with all the increased
So
protection
yeah,
items.
getting this a little bit cheaper makes sense because people always want it early game, and we had to kind of reassess the value of that passive. So like making it a little bit cheaper here without adjusting the stats just effectively tells you like we were trying to make the gold cost match the level of strength that passive has.
And then finally, Mystical Mail, we've shifted the damage from a kind of flat all the time to a 20 plus 1.5 per level. So you'll see this actually ends up being a lot stronger late game.
Yeah.
Significantly stronger late game, but in the early laning phase, by the time you actually buy this item, you've probably mostly gotten past the point where this would be weaker. So this is mostly a buff to the item overall.
Yeah. If you're picking it up like first item for some reason, then maybe not as good, but later in the game.
Yeah, and by then you just get 1 or 2 more levels, and you'll basically be at the break-even point, and then you're just going to be a lot stronger from then on out.
Yeah, nice. Well, a very concise, a very good section. A lot of good changes. Like I said, tanks are eating right now. But we have more to talk about still. That is not it. We have gods to talk about. And we're better to talk about gods than in the new to Smite 2 category. Because, I mean, we all like seeing new gods come to Smite 2. So as y'all might have picked up from us talking about it and us being in game as Amaterasu, we have 2 new gods coming, Amaterasu and Nuwa. But I guess we'll start with Ama. So, Pawn, I bet you.
I know a thing or two about that guy.
Okay, maybe not. Maybe not.
And I can't. I think it's so funny that I forgot my sweatshirt today.
What do you mean? She just can't be in 2 places.
It was a busy morning. Okay, I'm sorry. Shows are on Thursdays now instead of Wednesdays. I'm not going to blame anyone, but
we are in the Wild West.
It's my own fault. But you know, we love this goddess. So here she is.
Yeah, Ama at last.
Pawn's been flying around as her already. She looks great in Smite 2. She's got updated card art, updated ability icons, so you can see a bit of that card art update in the avatar image at the bottom left and on the mini map and the team bar. So then let's just talk about the kit changes, or I forget how we do.
We'll just fire off the abilities.
Yeah, fire off all the
let's just
abilities.
get the demo first.
We'll talk about
See
it.
how people notice stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, I see what you're doing. Oh, baby.
That was cool.
Yeah.
Real Ama fans see that one right away.
Yep.
All right.
All right, so let's get into kind of what changed between Smite 1 and Smite 2 for Amaterasu.
All right, so the new features for Amaterasu in Smite 2 are first on her ability 1, Divine Presence.
Okay.
So now there's an additional buff that players will get when the buff is activated. So you can see in the 2 bullet points, the gold buff will provide a health shield for 6 seconds and the persistent movement speed aura.
Okay.
And the red buff will provide a attack speed buff for 6 seconds and the persistent int and strength aura. So like we wanted to do something with the AO1 to make it a little bit more meaningful when you activated it.
Yeah.
So instead of just kind of spamming it on cooldown for the heal, or instead of kind of just like toggling it and leaving it in movement speed mode because that's OP, it still is OP. So it's still probably the right decision in some places. But we wanted to actually reward the Amaterasu players who were actually changing stances. And then so what it is, it's an instant AoE that hits you and your teammates at the moment you change stance.
Okay.
So if you hit a bunch of allies, you will give them this little health shield. It's a relatively small health shield, but it does scale off of Ama's max health. So if you're building more full tank Ama, which she can kind of be played as a fringe support, you're going to give people a bigger shield, and she also gets the shield as well.
Yeah.
Or when you're when you switch to red stance, you will give yourself and all allies around you an attack speed aura. So instead of just toggling to it early, you wait until everyone's grouped around the fire giant, then activate it so you can get that attack speed burst and the int and strength burst from the AO1 aura. The other interesting thing about this AO1 aura on the red stance is that int and strength buff now scales up with intelligence.
Okay.
So if you build a tank and int aura, if you build like a tanky or intelligence build Amaterasu, you will get a better strength and int aura to give to your allies.
Yeah, I can see that. This is a temper.
And we've already seen some in the flash tests and ambassador testing, like full int Ama gets like crazy numbers. Like you can build full int Ama and you can do decent damage. You'll be squishy. Your basic attacks won't be good, but you'll give your teammates, what was it, like I think like 150
that's insane.
int, and like 100 strength from the aura just being next to them. So you can kind of be like it's like a completely new playstyle for the character. So she is, I forgot to do like the high level intro stuff, but she deals only physical damage, but she does have strength and int scaling.
Okay.
So she will play her traditional basic attack, solo laner, bruiser build very well still, but we kind of give her some new options for scaling that involve a more support style through tankiness and intelligence. So that's the difference on her ability 1. Passive works the same as Smite 1. 3 attacks, make an AoE aura that makes people take damage from all sources.
Nice.
Those are all the changes on the AO1. Good admitted. That's where a lot of the changes are. AO2, now the mitigations she gets while the mirror is charging scales up with intelligence. And the mirror damage also scales with strength and intelligence. Actually scales higher off intelligence. So if you're full int Ama, your mirror shots become like actual like mage abilities.
Are your damage. All right.
Not quite actual mage abilities. I guess that's a little overspeaking. It's a little higher than the strength version.
Yeah.
The charge, as in Smite 1, only doubles the base damage when you charge it up, so you can't like super double quadra scale the mirror with int and the full charge. But it makes them meaningful, and it makes it that kind of like we did with Chalk and Odin, like you have to be able to still deal damage with those int builds. It can't be pure utility scaling or it's not really good enough.
Yeah.
And one other thing is there's a feels change on this one, which is we've allowed this to be fired a lot more quickly. There's some inconsistencies in Smite 1 that we've looked to resolve in Smite 2. So I can pretty reliably just quick fire this, which feels really, really good in practice. It lets you have a lot more control over this effect, which feels really nice.
Yeah, if you're looking for that, enemies getting away, you need that last second, last hit, you just fire it off real quick and have that under your belt.
Yeah.
Keep moving.
Ability 3, not really any changes to ability 3. It's the silence. It's a line attack silence before, and then damage and stop on God dash afterwards. We've preserved most of the most recent tech that Amaterasu has in Smite 1 for this, so that's this faster timings. There's no self root. She can fully aim and rotate during the whole thing. So if you really swing it fast, I think you can even just like. Oh no, it all fires at the same time now, so you can't desync the. Yeah, that's the way it works in Smite 1. We iterated through a couple possible changes here, but we didn't like it. So this one effectively works like what you're used to in Smite 1.
Awesome.
And the ultimate has the last new feature, which is the third attack of the ultimate. Now hits a big circle sweep attack.
Yeah, the full swing.
Yeah. So you have to hit a god, just like Smite 1, you have to hit a god for it to progress to the next, or not a god, have to hit a target for it to progress to the next stance. It's going to do increasing damage from the first to second to third hit. It's going to do just damage, and then damage plus slow, and then damage plus stun on the third hit. But now this third hit is that full circle sweep. It is a little bit longer animation time, so it maybe is a little bit of a trade-off in just chasing down and executing just one targeted god.
Yeah.
It'll slow you down a little bit, but it bolsters her team fight presence
for sure
a lot. And kind of a few of the other changes we made here was to kind of let Ama, she always did that anyway. She was kind of like a she might struggle a little bit in the early game or need the jungle to come by a few more times than another solo laner, but then you get to the mid to the late game, she's like a powerhouse.
Yeah, she pops off.
So we're really leaning into making sure her team fight in Smite 2 is like really memorable, and that's kind of like what sets her aside from the other warriors, the other solo laners, so they don't all feel, too similar. So
yeah, of course.
Really trying to make her unique features shine, so that's essentially really playing up those AoE buffing effects through new skill related timing on the AO1 and scaling it through build, and then this larger conditional CC that she can really use to change a whole team fight in a way she couldn't before.
Yeah, Oh, there it is. I was just thinking the combat blink for the third hit into the middle of the team goes incredibly hard. And all of that isn't even a commentary on how beautiful this look, or like Amaterasu looks moved into Smite too. Like obviously our team has done a lot of work to bring the character from that old engine into the new engine, and the effects look beautiful and the character looks beautiful. So
yeah, the shield's nice and gold like the sun.
Yeah.
Also her clothing has like actual like the clothing's emissive itself, which is cool.
that is really cool.
The mirror is golden now, as well. I mean, did you just say that? Sorry.
Yep.
There was something. Sorry, there was something else I was gonna say. No, I forgot it. It's okay. But yeah, we're trying to keep a lot of the Smite 1 parody here. A lot of Smite 1 feels, the polish things you're used to, but just add some unique things here in a few key places to really make the character work. Oh, the passive meter. Did you touch on that? It's like it's updated art, but it still functionally shows what you're used to. It shows the stance you're in. And it shows the mirror charge.
Well, it looks like it might be.
It's all of a sudden it's broken. Maybe we cooldown cheated it too much.
Yeah, I think I cooldown cheated it too much, unfortunately.
It will
Okay,
show.
that'll
Don't worry
happen.
about that.
Just dev things.
Just dev things.
Was there anything else?
Was there anything else? That was going to be my question for you. Because otherwise, we do
I
have
think
another god.
we shortened a little bit of the post fire on the dash. So if you dash into a god, the time you can start attacking is faster.
Okay.
Another thing I just want to get ahead of on the dash is like we currently have some god body blocking bug that we are aware of that we're still looking into fixes. Not for this patch, but probably a future patch. But it can result in, if almost right on top of someone, you might feel like you're going to hit them, but you dash through them, which I know is something that people like historical complaint about this goddess they really want us to fix.
Yeah.
So you might experience that. It is known. We think it has to do with the god body blocking issue, not so much the Ama dash issue.
Okay.
So you might encounter that rarely, or at certain gods like Mordred with his interact dash.
Yeah.
Things like that are really tight on collision and people dashing through each other, you might like feel like you dash through someone, but it is like overall I think really clean upgrade of the character, and a lot of these pain points we were aware of in Smite 1 we're hyper aware of in Smite 2, and making sure we don't reintroduce and make sure those bugs are fixed.
Awesome. Well, and as always too, we'll be looking for y'all's feedback once this goes live. We're looking for people to play Ama. If you have that bug, let us know so we can continue looking at those instances and why it happened. But otherwise, just let us know how the character feels, especially if you played Ama a lot in Smite 1. Knowing how this character feels in Smite 2 is going to be really helpful for us, because we can continue to refine that experience and stick to the strictly better mantra that we have lived by over here in the world of Smite 2. But that's not the only god that we have coming here. We have Nuwa as well joining the Smite 2 crew.
Yep.
So
And this god's got a lot of new stuff.
Yeah,
too.
Nuwa,
Amaterasu was perfect. She didn't really need anything, but we wanted to give it to her anyway, right?
Yeah, just because we love her.
But
Nuwa got some, like, as correct me if I'm wrong, as the most played god in Smite.
that is true. As of the most recent stats, Nuwa is the most played, the most individual play minutes total in Smite 1.
Yeah.
Dedicated to Nuwa. More than Neith.
But
More than Kukulkan.
Yeah, crazy to think of,
The
right?
most played character in the game by the most fair way of measuring that. you know.
Yeah. But, we looked at that and said, that's cool. We still think that we can make some really fun, impactful changes, and that's what we have here. So are we able to, you good for us to hop in game?
Yeah, we can hop in game. I'll just show off some stuff.
Yeah,
a lot of the stuff might not be as obvious, but we'll go into it when we get into it.
Yeah, again, true Nuwa fans might notice, but we'll talk about it in just a sec. Let's see the kit.
Let's just do this first. Okay.
Let's get them. Dude, just the effects.
We're just gonna keep walking backwards here. Man, I'm still hitting from really far away. That's crazy.
That's wild.
I wonder what did that.
Wonder what did that. That's weird.
All right, well, let's start talking about it. So what is new with Nuwa?
Okay, so Nuwa mainly has
New Nuwa.
Nuwa really wants to focus now on the kind of 5 strengths of the elements that she has within her kit. So that's wood, that's water, that's earth, that's metal, and that's fire. And each one now has some adjustments to it. So the first one is Strength of Wood. That was her original passive, where after 5 auto attacks, her next auto attack would root. That's now cooldown based. So after 15 seconds, your next attack will just immediately fire and it will root. So you can see that was that there, and it's building up.
Nice.
Every successful auto attack will jump that up more and more. So as you successfully auto attack more and more, you'll get that more and more frequently, and you'll be able to root again. That's
both.
Yes. So that's its first change. It has some interactions with the other parts of the kit. We'll go through each individual strength, and I'll kind of show you how they combine.
All right.
The next strength, the Strength of Water. So this is the strength that she gets when she's used her fog ability. And this one is just a buff that she and her allies get. They get her move speed, and you can see that it actually persists quite a bit outside of that.
Oh, yeah.
Well. That one is more just kind of this buff that she brings, not too much different than what we saw before.
This is a shout out to the old. There's a couple hidden things here. Shout outs to her old kit, her old kit.
Yes. The second one is Strength of Earth. Strength of Earth is granted, and you can see your passive meter updates as she gets each of these strengths.
Yeah.
Strength of Earth. Previously, these minions, when they charge and locked onto a target and dash at them, ignore that they are doing some stuff with cooldowns. They'll do some weird things with cooldowns. But it used to be that charge would give a penetration to the target. It would actually shred their armor. She now just gets Strength of Earth, which grants her immediately pen that she can use on anyone.
Okay.
It's no longer tied to the minions actually having to attack someone.
Yeah.
She just gets that benefit out the box.
And did you mention that on Mysterious Fog, if allies step through it, they get the movement speed buff for the duration? Okay, sorry. I'm reading chat, so I'm just like double checking if anything was missed.
All good.
Awesome.
So those would just allow the movement speed buff and that penetration, just makes it a lot more accessible.
Yeah.
Now, the next biggest change is going to be on Shining Metal. You fire it, it does the things you expect. It blows up the minions that charge forward. It does the things that you know. But you can see that I actually have a Strength of Metal buff.
Yeah.
And with Strength of Metal, it turns my auto attacks into AoE auto attacks.
Oh, that's so cool.
So this immediately opens up a whole bunch of different build varieties. But two of the main things are each successful auto attack lets Strength of Wood come up sooner, which includes the
AoEs.
AoE.
So you're triple
AoE
stacking the
Yes.
speed of the root.
Okay.
You're getting the root a lot more quickly, and it will spread the root itself. So that's how I was able to root all the other Ymirs around.
Yeah.
And it's people are asking if you have the root charged, does it consume on fire or on hit?
It consumes on fire.
Okay, so it still consumes on fire. When your root is up, you got to make your next attack count.
Yeah,
If
don't
you
miss.
It's gone.
Yep.
Okay, sorry, chat wanted clarification. Thank you, Pon.
And then the final one, which is after you ult, you get Strength of Fire. The ult works very similarly. It does damage, globally reveals targets, hits everyone on the map. But now I have Strength of Fire, and this now turns my auto attacks into very, very long range auto attacks.
Yeah, that's huge.
I want to say it's something along the lines of like 40% or 50% larger. Like it's significant. Like how far I have to actually walk forward to start hitting this Ymir again.
So now
our
powers combined.
So if you were to do things like Strength of Earth, ult, you get the pen for this ult, which is really, really good. And now you now have super long range AoE auto attacks that could root if you hit enough people and throw that out. These all stack on top of each other. So the base kit largely functions identical. You have the standard combo that everyone really likes to use. You have the fog, you have the minions into the explosion combo, you got the global ult. But now you just have this whole new loop layered on top of the in-hands.
Yeah.
And you get to do a lot of really neat things combining these different effects. It's very reminiscent of Old WoW.
Yeah.
Old WoW had a lot of these different in-hand augmenting things, and so we tried to take a lot of that inspiration and bring it onto this kit to give her kind of a loop within her gameplay loop. That it's going to be interesting to see how people flex with, if in-hand builds become really good with her, or if these are just really nice bonuses to have as you're just playing standard new WoW.
Yeah, absolutely crazy. And like you said, crazy that so many old WoW features look similar in new WoW, back and forth all the time. But it's a whole nother layer to the gameplay, which I think is exciting. And I mean, I'd like to see this make her a little more competitively viable as well. You know, I think that being able to like really learn the finesse of all of the different in-hands will help this character shine in a totally different light while still being super accessible to newer players.
Yep.
So.
Some additional maybe just notes on top of that.
Please.
At least right now, I believe we are gonna let these gods into ranked immediately. No
Open the
ban
doors.
window. We know people want more gods, so why would we ban ones in ranked that we just released for you?
Yeah.
Right? If there are any major bugs, they might be temporarily disabled.
Yeah, of course.
But the goal is out the gate is to let them immediately enter the draft pool for ranked Conquest.
That makes sense.
Because we know people are hungry for that.
Yeah, we know y'all want more gods, and we're trying to get them to you.
Yeah, I don't have too much other concrete evidence, things to talk about on that, but I did want to shout it out. So
that makes sense.
So thanks, Dandy. But we're seeing a lot of discussion about the gods and which ones you want. We appreciate all of you having those conversations. We're not going to make any official announcements right now, but we are seeing that feedback. We're taking it to heart. We are looking at which gods we might be able to do sooner versus later, how we might be able to get even more out faster. All those types of things are in progress. We are working towards those.
Yeah.
The spoiler list that's been going around is not fully accurate. Even before we started planning changes, it was not fully accurate. It was not that far off, but it wasn't fully accurate. So we are, taking that seriously. We are making 3-week patches, so 2 gods through 3 weeks is a relatively quick pace, but we're going to see if we can do it faster. We're going to do our best to do that.
We're always listening to y'all's major feedback points, and we are trying to action them. Like, that's the funny thing about spoilers is spoilers might it's like, oh wow, I found the spoiler, but it's like things change here like weekly, almost daily. It feels like. So we are constantly reacting to your feedback.
Our whole philosophy and strategy was to build this game with the community. So like we are open to change. The game changed a lot between true alpha weekends and closed alpha 1.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And now that we're in closed alpha 1, we're working towards free to play, and we have a different player base coming in again to give us more feedback, and we are going to keep pivoting as we need.
Yeah.
So we're going to try to make every god feel exciting every release,
for sure,
and we're going to try to make as many as we can as fast as we can without making major mistakes.
Yeah, without like making the game unplayable.
One thing, just to circle back, because I realized we forgot in the same way we did on Models. We did actually say what type of scaling she uses.
Fair.
Yuwa is a who deals magical damage.
Yeah.
And she is an int scaling character. So she scales just off int.
Full magical, full int.
You obviously see there's a lot of in-hand potential. You could flex around with that as well, but everything is largely int scaling based.
How's the crit Nuwa been doing in internal playtesting, Pon?
I think everyone's just been favoring the standard. I drop a clay soldier on someone and blow them up instantly.
It is good.
That's very effective. It's hard to compete with that level.
Yes, the old gold. All right, cool. But like you said, we're making a lot of gods fun and exciting, but some of them a little too fun and exciting. So let's get into some balance, starting with a few nerfs, actually. So Mordred hit the...
New God OP, right? New God OP.
New God OP.
Agrees. New God OP.
Yeah.
Actually, Mordred's not that OP.
No.
So he's getting some smaller nerfs here just to his passive.
Yeah.
Slowing down his wrath gain. Yeah,
he had a passive amount that he was getting that's lowered, and then just the amount he's getting from when he deals damage is a little bit lower, just to lower the frequency of that charge ult.
The scary heartbeat ult. Yeah,
right.
Got it. All right.
That thing is terrifying.
It is terrifying. So Ares up next, been a little strong recently, so getting a nerf.
Yeah, so even though we talked a lot, Pon, I'll let you talk about Ares, but before, just high level, we talked about tank itemization and tank like as an archetype, but there's still some tanks that we need to nerf, and usually there are some specific damage features of tanks we need to nerf. I saw one being talked about a lot in the chat. We're talking about it. Don't worry, we're going to talk about it too, but go ahead.
I know which one you're thinking of.
So Ares, just Blessed Armaments is this aura that he really provides a lot of strength and intelligence to his team.
Oh yeah.
This is kind of like an invisible level of power that makes him very, very effective. And so rather than just nerf it, because it was causing him to be very successful, we wanted to nerf the amount that he gives to other people, but keep the amount he gives to himself at 100%.
Okay.
So his internal strength will remain unchanged, but the amount that he's actually buffing his team is gonna go down, just to make sure that it is this constantly on effect, providing a lot of power, still very, very effective, just going to be a bit more reasonable.
That makes sense. So again, New God broken. Jingwei coming up next with some nerfs and a little bit of a fix to her agility.
One big fix / buff, which is hard to put. We wanted to get it in there anyway, even though by most accounts this is the strongest god in the game right now.
Yeah.
By most accounts. So we're doing a couple different nerfs. So let's see. That's a fix, so just a text fix. Explosive bolts cooldown increase. We know that the explosive bolts is a big point of discussion for her.
For sure.
That was her new feature though, so we don't just want to like rip that right out.
Yeah.
So we're looking at some nerfs to it. Her ability 3 is going to be adjusted in its the agility. Adjusted this ability so the speed of the dash is specifically to make it feel more like Smite 1.
Got it.
You'll still be able to control it, but we making that faster, snappier, what it was intended to be really. And we added another text fix for there, and then airstrike damage. So like the real direct nerfs to Jingwei is the cooldown and the damage on the ult, and many item nerfs.
Yeah.
Yes.
A variety.
Specifically the crit damage, which this is like the most crit using god.
Yeah, if this feels light, that's kind of why, right? A lot of the build path for her is being directly affected, and so she's going to be coming down just as a result of that naturally, let alone anything else we do.
Yeah, similar to how we spoke about Loki earlier.
Yes.
So, awesome.
Pon, are we going to show anything else in game?
I don't think so, unless you have anything specific you want to see.
Go back to the front end, and maybe let's go look at Amaterasu and Nuwa's mastery rewards. after we do the god.
Ooh, good idea.
Just a quick look if they're there.
Yeah.
It'll be have to be careful on pawn switching screens.
Yes, I am very scared about that.
Just only go to the one screen and don't press anything. You'll be fine.
Do not switch to me right now.
Don't go to pawn yet until we say. All right, who's our next god?
Spoilers. Ymir. We have Ymir on the list.
Oh yeah, Ymir doing very well as one of the tanks. His damage from we really wanted to push that face punch Ymir to make sure it was good. We pushed a little too hard, so we're just walking back that nerf a little bit. We're nerfing it a little bit more on the strength side than the int side. So we still want him. If you build some int, we want Ymir to feel it. We did some adjustments with his ult and stuff like that in previous patches to make sure. I saw some clips of people literally one-shotting each other with full int Ymir.
Yeah.
So we did not nerf the passive bonus basic attack. This is essentially the bonus basic attack damage he's getting.
Yeah.
And if this looks light to you because it's a small percentage change, again, crit adjustment, that's going to massively affect
the items will be doing a lot of leg work.
Right. So some nerfs to that.
Yeah. So next up, another tank that I know was wreaking havoc in my games anyway. Bacchus getting a little nerf.
Yes. So we nerfed the damage from Chug from it's scaled up to 80. It's now just going to stop at 60.
Yeah.
So that's a 20% scaling nerf. It's a pretty big scaling nerf. And Belly Flop is also getting a pretty big scaling nerf from 60-60 to 40-40.
Yeah, the amount of damage that he was getting from building pure tank was just too high. We want when you build pure tank that you do enough damage to impact a fight in a meaningful way, like you feel like you meaningfully contributed. But this was you were able to like actually
yeah, they were. I was getting absolutely belly flopped. So so the Morrigan would be next on the list, moving away from tanks a little bit.
Yeah, so this is Doomsayer is the passive that went on the next the final auto attack. She does the AoE, and this applies the % health damage. We made this actually affect everything because it's kind of weird that it affects some things and not others. Fair. But when it affected the Fire Giant, it did percentile health of the Fire Giant. And if you did things like built crit, because we also wanted it to crit because we think that's interesting and might open up some interesting avenues of play, it could crit percentile health damage the Fire Giant for a lot of damage. That's now been reduced by 80%. It still means the damage will show up. It still actually contributes quite a bit of damage, but this should no longer allow the Morgan to solo the Fire Giant and Titan and jungle bosses.
That makes a lot of sense. So next up, our flying samurai, Susanoo, getting a nerf.
This god was, as usual, like running rampant. A lot of people who are playing the high-end ranked, this was one of the top picks, probably the second top pick after Jingwei. So yeah, just two straightforward damage scaling numbers. He's going to be heavily affected by the item nerfs as well. Of course. But we wanted to make sure we really hit him because he was all over the place. He's got so much utility, CC, and damage all built into one kit. So taking down that damage scaling, especially at the top end.
That makes a lot of sense. So we've nerfed the nerfs. Now we have some buffs that we're going to talk about.
That's it for the nerfs. And if any god that, wasn't on there that you really feel like needs nerfs, we tried our best to convey that we think the items will probably affect them in some way. But, there might be some more that needs to happen. I think this patch is going to change a lot. So we'll see if Bacchus needs more nerfs, if Loki needs more nerfs. Those are things we'll be certainly looking really closely at. And the gods we're about to talk about in the buffs, the few that didn't get buffs are going to be, have a better chance because of the better gods getting nerfs. Yeah. And and mages specifically not getting nerfed nearly as hard as hunters, maybe coming up a little bit. So if you don't see your favorite god on the buff patch, keep in mind the item changes might help them, and we'll be definitely looking closely at them for our next patch.
Yeah, looking for that feedback like always, and just those hard numbers. So just play games and
It's crazy that right now with the reset on the new game, it's like we can almost discuss every single god in the game, every single patch notes.
That's true.
Like we're getting close to them all just through today.
Yeah.
Not literally every one, but like we're close to it. So I just wanted to shout out those last few that aren't mentioned. All right, let's see some buffs.
All right, so CERN getting a buff.
Yeah, this is a big one.
Yeah, Bramble Blast.
Root and Cripple now. Coming back. We had taken it away. We're giving it back.
Easy as that.
It's a good counterplay item, right? It's a skill shot. It's narrow, but it has a really strong counter effect. It's like it feels really iconic to him, so I felt it was important to bring back.
Makes sense. Give him that power. So besides the Bident, Hades also getting another buff.
Yep, Shroud of Darkness. We're going to make the fear always direct targets away from Hades. It was random before, which sometimes is favorable, sometimes it's not.
Yeah.
But often that randomness can mean that you can't plan around it.
Yeah, no problem.
So having this consistently available way to play around it, and generally moving people away from you is going to be a bit more effective as a whole, because you can better directly control where you want them to go.
Yeah.
Including if you get behind, if you leap and then send them to your team.
Yeah, of course.
This is just going to be a way to better play around it, a more consistent experience.
Yeah, like you said, more predictable. So next up, we have Bologna, the warrior, the amazing warrior.
Yep. So basic attack damage being equal across all targets. We have previously had a really hard cleave penalty there.
Yeah.
So we're making this back towards Smite 1. So that's the real buff. This one fixed a bug where passive strength scaling was causing different damage to deal. Due to the way Pond,
This very early in Smite testing, we had way higher attack damage, and so the cleave, it's kind of a legacy that the cleave was even nerfed in the first place. Now that we've largely brought basic attack damage back down a lot, giving her full damage is good. But because of the way that was previously calculated before and how the cleave was working, especially for early testing, there was a slight error in the calculation, which meant that she wasn't dealing consistent damage on all the cleave targets. That has now been fixed. So now you should expect the cleave to work as it should, is largely what this bullet point says.
Awesome. Right. Video games require math, and that's scary and hard.
And math's rough.
Math is so rough.
Han, don't lie to them. They know you're a mathematician.
Yeah, 1 out of every 4 million people. You are a shining star. Speaking of shining stars, we have Soul up next with another buff.
Wow, what a segue.
That's good. We added the slow immunity to the initial duration of Disapparate. So this is before she turns into the solar ball that can't be damaged.
Yeah.
And that matches Smite 1. This just gives her that ability to make sure that she's not being, she can kind of be evasive.
Nice. Next up, a buff to my favorite god to click on during the beginning of the match lobby, Zeus.
This is a cool one, bringing the cooldown of his ultimate really low.
Yeah, that is cool.
We don't usually go that low on ultimates. There's a few exceptions, but we're doing that for Zeus as well. This just makes the ult frequency.
Yeah.
People get out of it a lot. You have to really do a lot of setup to make it good, but being able to use it a lot more often will be really strong.
Oh, for sure.
So, as one of the mages that was struggling a little bit more this patch, I think this is a really cool change, and we're excited to see where he goes. And you can always still just play him full crit too, which is actually pretty good.
Yeah, and the ult's visually impactful, so at least you get the glory of seeing it more often. So, well, unless you're the enemy, but don't worry about it. Neath up next, Broken Weave.
Yep. She is one of our hybrid characters where she can go either strength or intelligence.
Yeah, she works well.
The Broken Weave passive really only gave her intelligence when she did the explosion scaling damage.
Yeah.
And so this just makes it so that she also gets strength scaling as well. So when you are going the more standard kind of in-hand crit focused or proc focused build, it's just going to be more effective. It's going to work better with your build path and not be so limited to one side of the scaling tree.
Sounds good. That's one of the reasons I love Neath. I love that going either build style. So.
And I think we saw strength Neath was actually really, really underperforming compared to Neath. So this also should help even that balance out.
Yeah. Ability burst is fun to build.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Athena up next with Reach.
No longer affected by in-hand slow when throwing Reach. This is another Smite 1 parity change, isn't it?
Yes, I believe it is.
We tried to call out as many of those as we could, but we missed it on this one. But yeah, again, just makes the passive feel better, and it feels it's what you're used to, right? So it felt just unnecessarily punishing in Smite 2. So
yeah, feels more natural to what your experience is.
Yep.
So last but not least, for god buffs, we have On Her with Impale.
Yep, Impale's just getting a base damage increase. He lost a lot of base power. Some of that is because you get strength now as you level up.
Yeah.
The strength scaling contributes to it, so it's not as low as I think people were comparing between the two. But this should even the gap and just make it so that, especially early game, that extra 15 damage matters a lot for wave clear. Might be the difference of losing an auto attack. It's just going to help you burst people down. Just helps him out overall.
Yeah.
There's a lot of community feedback that he felt like the lowest performing hunter. So, Impale feeling like it really is meaningful damage is one of the most important things in making On Her feel strong.
Yeah, awesome.
So do we have time to go look at the god masteries real quick, Pon? Are you in a safe screen?
I believe in a safe screen, but yes, we can go to me. But you have added the danger button at the top left, which is the I can move. So I just have to stay away from the top left of the screen.
Don't click the top
So here
left.
is Ama's mastery track. There's the shadow skin. Let's look at the trackers real quick. We'll go through it quick. Oh no, that's objectives destroyed. No, start with the Ascension tracker and the far left.
The you've unlocked these.
Oh, you want these? Sorry, I see what you mean.
The unique tracker.
Yes.
So it's the mirror kills.
Nice.
So we're gonna track how many people you've literally gotten the killing blow with on the mirror shot, which is harder than it sounds.
Yeah, no,
but it's a super swag way to kill someone with Amaterasu. So.
Right.
Okay, let's go through the track.
So we got the standard objective destroyed.
Standard stuff. That's the other one. Number of times stunning at least two or more gods with the third hit of the ultimate.
Ooh, that's really cool. That's a fun stat.
Then we have the Onyx skin.
Beautiful.
We have the Opal skin. We have her global, the global emote. I'll have to make sure I'm looking at chat for this.
The
one.
global.
Yeah, a lot of people have been
is
saying
so
the opal
funny.
one is one of the best ones.
Yes, dear.
The opal skin for Amma is like one of the best opal skins ever. This emote was a bit stressful, but I can't believe we did it. But I think it's just hilarious.
I have people I need to send this to now that it's public.
So we did intentionally make it that style, like the rough line art to look like the source material. We could have made it really clean, of course, if we wanted to, but we wanted to like actually keep the source material there. And it's just like Amaterasu's, you know, she's like so wholesome and a leader, and like you want to do what she says. So like when your Amma is giving you commands on the team, you know, this type of face, this type of motion is just like, you know, like you're trying to make an objective push and your carry is like soloing wave still at 30 minutes, and you're just like, honey, what are you doing over there?
It's
like,
lane pushing.
Group
time.
up, please. Oh, and Big Mac Boy is back. The chat is super stoked for Big Mac Boy, by the way.
True. Not very good on the rank leaderboard, but always.
All right, we have the title, the mastery, and then we have the final skin, the divine skin.
Oh, so
okay. So now we have to, before we go look at Nuwa, we have to make sure we completely
so
close
we
down.
Change the screen.
Back to cameras.
Yes, okay.
Okay.
It's us.
We did one. We did one without any major spoilers.
Yeah, we can get through one more. As much as I'm sure chat wants the spoilers.
Yes. Okay. I think we are good now.
I think is stressful. You need.
We're good. We're good.
Okay. Nuwa shadow skin.
Nuwa.
Nuwa tracker killed with fire. So alt kills essentially.
That's powerful stuff.
Yep.
Clay explosion.
Kills or number of times Nuwa hit a god with multiple clay soldiers. So you have to detonate 2 or more soldiers and damage a god to get this tracker.
The whole minefield.
Yep. We have the onyx skin.
A classic.
Into the opal skin.
We have the opal skin. The opal skins are looking so sick.
Oh yeah, the tattoos look super.
This one looks. I mean, the Amma one and this one both look amazing.
They really do.
Oh yeah, hers is very memey as well. Burn it down.
Like all the rest aren't memes.
Yeah, literally, the meme department went off on all of these.
I mean, we're really leaning into the memes as much as we can on these emotes, honestly.
Yeah,
like,
it's so.
We ain't holding back. But yeah, for a goddess that rains fire down on the battleground, I feel.
Heaven's Guardian, Big Mac Boy.
Heaven's Guardian.
We need a Big Mac Boy title, so I could be Big Mac Boy, or Big Mac Boy Ajax. And the divine skin. Oh, we didn't look at the
border.
Border.
Yeah.
But we can look at Nuwa's border.
Yeah, where can I see?
In that little icon above the
yeah,
right there.
That one.
There you go. Oh, it's got the crystals.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's cool.
Almost is great. Just have to trust
Yeah.
me. It's a nice golden shining sunlight border, obviously.
You'll see it next week. You can go check that out for yourself
We're
next
not
week.
going to spoil anything else by going out of the screen.
Yeah, so let's go back to cameras. We've been here too long.
Okay.
Okay.
Man, the show's getting long. We're
hit it.
going through it. We got to jump to God bugs.
Yeah, so now we are on to bugs next. So there's a lot of bug fix. Obviously, you know, part of an alpha is fixing all the bugs.
We're not going to be able to talk about all of them.
No, that's
we
fine.
have so many here.
I was going to
And
pass this.
We didn't even get them all on the patch notes. I'm pretty
Yeah, but this is actually definitely isn't the full list of bugs. that
I was making additions up to today, so a lot of stuff is being fixed. Our QA team is going insane, but I think I'm going to pass this to you and let you just pick out a couple of them, because again, you can see all of them that we have able to be listed.
Did they make lower thirds for these?
I don't know if we were able to get lower thirds in.
Okay, I just don't want to like overrun production.
No, I think they do. So.
Well, we'll just go through them quickly then.
All right,
so,
I will.
Pawn, you stop me if there's one you want to talk about. You know.
Yeah.
So
otherwise,
Odin.
fire through.
These are in no particular order. Odin, we upgraded the description of his passive. I think that is. We fixed an issue where he could. Lunging into phoenixes and towers would stop targeting him if he.
Yeah, so this just matches
Oh.
the expectation of how leap should work.
Okay.
Right. That could apply to multiple gods as well, right?
Yeah, it could, but I
So-
think he was especially broken.
Okay.
Especially.
Neath, we fixed an issue where she was fully hittable throughout her backflip leap.
Yep.
Fixed issues where she could heal off of enemy weaves. Fixed issue where her radiant skin did not have glowing eyes. Ares ultimate fixed an issue where gods who were pulled by this ability could sometimes not be damaged and stunned. Fixed an issue where this ability had some unintentional additional casting time after Ares slams to
you
the
couldn't
ground.
auto attack for a long time after pulling people. That's been resolved, so that should feel a lot better.
Yeah, that's a big one. Mordred, we already talked about a couple like core collision fixes. Those will help some of Mordred things. Like when we're talking about gods getting stuck in walls, Mordred was certainly one of them. But fixed an issue where bled enemies tracker on his ascension pass was not counting properly. Fixed an issue where his ability near the edges of Odin's ult would cause multiple spears to instantly kill him in the air.
Yep. Leaving that could sometimes instantly kill you.
Oh
Just
yeah.
instantly kill you. Yeah.
Fix an issue where you could ghost hit and he would fully animate but didn't actually hit. Fix an issue where you could get stuck inside of walls. And fix an issue with the sound effects being too loud when hitting minion waves.
On the hard slash, yeah.
There's probably a bunch of those types of fixes too.
I'm sure.
Kurtanos fixed an issue where polymorph was shifting shadow and radiant skin textures back to default. So he was literally polymorphing you out of a skin.
That's so good. You know what? That makes
probably people who would want that to be a real ability.
I saw that happen, and now I know why. Okay.
Fixed issues with his upper body not animating after transitioning properly from into combat and out of combat.
Cool.
Hecate, Spell Eater, fixed an issue where stance swap abilities could exploit the charge of this ability.
Yep.
Makes sense. Morrigan, Changeling, fixed an issue where transforming into Susanoo, she'd get into a state where she could dash infinitely without cooldowns.
Yeah, that was great. That was a really fun bug.
Description of her marked kills tracker has been updated to better indicate how it tracks.
Cool.
Thanatos fixed it where he would not auto buy. Oh yeah, he was auto buying mana potions, so now he doesn't because he can't use them.
But just a flex.
Yeah, right.
Bologna fixed an issue where she didn't have any roll tabs in her item store. Jingwei, Rapid Reincarnation, fixed an issue where she could fall through the floor occasionally if with client lag while flying. Agility fixed an issue where she could T-pose if dashed into Cernunnos ultimate. Airstrike fixed collision issues where you could sometimes get into a broken state and become immune for longer. Oh, that was a big one.
Yep.
Yeah, that was a big one.
She could sometimes become just untargetable for like the rest of the game. So that was fixed.
These are so funny.
Hades, Pillar of Agony, fixed issue where pulling targets from a knock-up could cause them to be stuck in the air.
Cool.
Yep.
Ymir fixed an issue with Shards of Ice where on quick and normal cast, mashing the ability button would instantly explode without even playing the animation.
Yeah, I also know that another one that I don't think is here is we also fixed a bunch of things relating to like it would deal like either min or max damage when you died casting it, and it would depend based off if like you were at the very end of your charge or not. Like this should just generally work better and as expected.
Got it. And now we're moving out of gods into items, but this first one is kind of a direct jab at Ymir.
Well, this one is a little bit more than just a fix, but it's a bit of both. But Circe's Hexstone, this item will no longer be able to be used while firing channeled abilities. Now, we know that we let you do this on Blink, and that's okay because Blink didn't have the same number of... Oh, we have updated Hexstone art. Sorry, production. This one breaks animations and effects much worse than Combat Blink. So if you start channeling a Ymir ult and then you... Circe's Hexstone, polymorph yourself, and then dash. When you come out of the polymorph, Ymir will just look normal.
Yeah.
No effects, no audio, no animation at all, and then he will explode in his ultimate. So it completely masks effects. You can use this to completely hide an Anubis ult or Anubis Breath of Locust, like a lot of things. The ability will keep playing, but the character will have broken the state. So Combat Blink doesn't have this level of issue, so we'll still allow combat blinking during channel abilities, but this one, because of the polymorph, because the animation change, the charge state, a lot of things this item doesn't let it really work well with wildfire and channeled abilities. As much as people loved blowing people up with Ymir with it.
And the theme really is you are polymorphing yourself into a pig, which blocks you from doing things to be able to charge at people. Its theme is very different, and it does create a lot of edge cases that even had we wanted to keep it, it would change fundamentally how the game is structured at its core to support it.
Okay.
All right, let's keep going.
We have so many. Health Chalice, we already mentioned that one. Spirit Robe, we fixed an issue where this was granting additional magical protections, and it wasn't granting the proper passive, and it was incorrectly providing intelligence. Just a couple of numbers issues on Spirit Robe.
Yeah.
Soul Reaver fixed an issue with this item. I was dealing an extra tick of damage. So a nerf, a little bit of hidden Soul Reaver nerf in there.
Yeah, this essentially removes one tick.
Yeah, which is actually a pretty big nerf.
Yep.
Eye of Providence and Golden Blade fixed issues where these were filtered with the cooldown rate filter, even though they do not provide cooldown rate. Scepter of Dominion fixed an issue where this item could get into broken... Oh, this one probably has.
Yeah, this one...
There's a lot of fixes with this one around getting gods into broken states. I think Chaos said there was many of them, but we just kind of summarized them into this one line.
Yep.
Soul Gem fixed an issue with this item not stacking when bought and showing the wrong buff.
Yeah, so if you bought this from nothing to full, it would break. That was
that's an interesting bug. Okay. Sundering Arc fixed an item where this would only deal 100 damage to jungle monsters and bosses at level 15 exactly.
What a specific edge
It says just a typo, right? It's supposed to do 1,000 at every one. It's using a table.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't use linear scaling, so it has to reference each number for each level individually. It's just a typo. So yeah, that's a big fix. I believe there's also a fix where that wasn't displaying a dot icon on your buff bar if you took damage, and now when you've been sundered, you can actually see that on your...
Well, we are into UI now, so it might be in here.
Fixed issues with auto skill settings not working properly. Fixed issues with the XP and worshiper bars at the end of screen of the end of match lobby.
I'm gonna miss this.
No more
Fixed
growing
issues with the
bar.
crowd. I mean, I think those bars are the end of match lobby is still very tense.
Yes.
We have a whole rework in progress, so like it's probably going to still have some issues. And a match or fixed an issue where the crowd, arena crowd, would keep playing and cheering throughout the end of match lobby. Party queues fixed an issue where members who weren't party leader would see searching for a game time always at 0000. Arena gift text fixed the text. Ranked UI fixed an issue with the rank displaying a blank icon when a god isn't selected for a ban. Fixed an issues with text appearing over other menus during god selection ban process. Friends menu fixed an issue where console users could get stuck on certain tabs. Invite pop-ups fixed an issue where console users where the invite pop-up wasn't highlighting the accept or decline button properly.
And now we're into general gameplay, the last little section.
Stealth ability fixes. I saw a lot of people ask for these. So fixed issues where characters could be broken out of stealth early, Loki and Morrigan, usually by using an active aura or getting a different other gameplay effect, which is, you know, just like a buff or debuff.
Yeah, Ares often broke if you ever walked into range of him, for example.
That explains a lot.
Yep. Yep, that makes sense. Conquest fixed an issue where tower sound effects were playing in rapid successions when enemies died in the radius before being hit. Interesting. Fixed an issue when oracles would get all stretchy when they died. I saw a lot of people report
That was a good one.
Yeah, we knew about that
Saw that from
Item store fixed issues with components and selling items for the full gold after leaving the fountain. Fixed navigating stores through controllers. Yeah, I kind of already touched on these at the beginning. Fixed undo. Yeah, we mentioned those. Disconnects fixed a variety of issues that could happen if clients would get into a bad state if they would disconnect and then reconnect, or they could potentially get reconnect as a spectator instead of a player. Okay, that's all of them.
Yeah, that was a lot. Again,
and there are literally more. It's just like it's really time consuming for us to pick them all out of our task tracking software, copy them onto patch notes. So we did a lot of them, as many as we could. If there's any really big bugs you are still concerned about not being addressed, let us know.
Reach out.
Especially if you experience those in gameplay in the next patch.
Yeah, like the amount, like we get a lot of feedback from Discords, from Twitters, from Twitch clips, any way that you can capture something, especially if you have footage of it, like super helpful to us, get it to us right away. But otherwise, that was a really objectively hilarious section. We fixed a lot of stuff, but I was like crying at the beginning of that section just with some of the like random bugs are so funny. But we have a few more things to talk about. It's been a long show, but let's get to the end of it here. Let's talk esports. So recently we talked about Vegas and we talked about tickets going on sale, and those are going on sale. Oh boy, that's tomorrow, isn't it? At 8 a.m. PST or 11 a.m. EST, the tickets will go on sale. Now there is a limited number of these tickets and a limited time early bird sale.
Very limited.
Yeah, so make sure that you hop in and get your ticket right away because again, this venue's not as big as the one we were in last year. Tickets are going to sell out pretty quick, so make sure you dive into that. It's super exciting. You can check it out on Eventbrite to get your tickets. We have the QR code. You can scan that there to go straight ahead. But again, tomorrow morning for people in the PST, or super early for PST at 8 a.m. Super early. I don't wake up early. 11 a.m. EST. That's for the Eastern Standard folks. Just make sure that you check it out. We're so excited to see y'all there for the Founders Series. It's going to be hopefully the first of many, many really, really exciting Smite 2 LAN events. So make sure you check it out. You also are going to want to check out this weekend's tournament, though, straight away. So signups are still available. Most of this stuff is open bracket. If you're interested in trying to get into Smite Esports, now is an incredible time because you can get in there, sign up, and start playing right away. Get your team together and just throw your skills up against other people and see how you do. So make sure to check it out.
This is the Founders Series now, not just in the one-off tournaments that we're having before. This is now lets you qualify into future tournaments in esports, right?
We are in the Founders Series. So for more info, you can head over to our Discord. That's discord.gg/Smite Esports if you really want to get involved. But now's as good a time as any to get in and get involved. I mean, theoretically, you and your buddies could be in Vegas in January if you start playing and practicing now. So it's all up to how much.
Yeah, if you don't get a ticket, just qualify for the tournament.
Just qualify for the tournament. So, so exciting. Make sure to check that out. And again, literally starting this weekend and moving forward. And like you said, we're releasing gods directly into like ranked and everything moving forward. Tournament rules may change, but updates are flying off the shelf. So every tournament is going to be a little different with how much these updates are changing things. So going to be really exciting. So yeah, next up, feedback surveys. Like we talk all the time about how important y'all's feedback is. I just want to underline, bold, asterisk, feedback is important. We send out surveys all the time. We have them available in game, usually through our Discord as well. but we're also checking Twitter, we're checking Twitch clips. Like every time somebody pings us or sends us any bit of information, it's incredibly useful, whether it's just how you felt about the game after playing one match, if you're a new player or a veteran player, how a specific god felt. Doesn't matter. If you have opinions, please share them with us, because we're trying to build Smite 2 with the community. This is a passion project between us who love the game and you who love the game. So any feedback you have, share it through any avenue you feel comfortable sharing it through, and I promise we will appreciate it. To continue moving, let's talk about Just About. I've mentioned this before, but Just About is somebody that we've worked with that does bounties. So if you're looking at getting into content creation, Just About's a great way to do it, because they offer real cash bounties for creating content. And you don't have to give them your content. Put it on your YouTube channel, you know, like, or wherever you make content. You keep it yourself for your channels, but you can go and claim those bounties as a little incentive. So you can, it's a good way for us to say, hey, we're releasing new gods. We would love content that teaches new players how to play these gods. You get a bounty. We get content that helps our new players out. Everybody wins. So make sure to check out Just About, especially in the Discord. They have a whole active live bounty board that shows you what's available and pings people when certain bounties are about to time out, so that you can keep track of what's available. So it's a really cool system, and if you're interested in content creation, make sure you get in, because there are only benefits for you. One more time, too, I'm going to say at the beginning of the show, I mentioned that we are giving away some access codes to Smite 2. Assuming there are still codes available, they were limited giveaways. If there are still codes available, go to the link with ! access, the chat command in Twitch specifically, and use the code SMITE2ALPHA, along with following our Twitch channel, and you will get access to Smite 2 on your favorite platforms. We have PlayStation, Xbox, and Steam. Make sure you click the relevant link, go there, and get your free access if there are still codes available. They were limited. So, and you know, if you already got yours, share it with a friend. Why not? Get everybody in, because the more the merrier. And last but not least, one change, and I know we talked about this on socials recently, but one change that we did recently to help people out who just weren't able to get their value out of the cross-gen passes in Smite 1 is we recently employed a change, because the cross-gen pass, it's in the name. Those skins and the cosmetics are cross-generational between Smite 1 and Smite 2, but we know that people they want the Smite 2 content. They don't always have time to grind for the Smite 1 content or to earn the battle pass levels. So we went ahead and made a change so that if you purchase the cross-gen pass in Smite 1, you will immediately get both of these skins unlocked in Smite 2. You don't have to go through the levels to earn them, which you will still need to do in Smite 1 if you want to show off that skin. But if you own the cross-gen pass, if you buy the premium track of the pass, you automatically get both of the skins unlocked in Smite 2, so they are added to your account and will be available for you to use when they exist in Smite 2 right away. You don't have to grind the levels for the Smite 2 content. So that was just a little reminder I wanted to toss in at the end. Whew, but either way, it is 5 o'clock sharp Eastern Standard.
Perfect timing.
And yeah, I think that we're good to wrap the show. So thank y'all so much. It's been a huge update. We're looking forward to seeing y'all next week. Again, that is, Tuesday we'll be pushing this out. So a lot of cool content to go out next week. We'll be looking for your feedback and hopefully a lot of fun times of gamage as well. But anything else you'll want to add as we wrap?
No.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, thanks so much for all the feedback you guys have been giving us, and we'll see you later.
Yeah, thank you so much, and yeah, catch you later. Bye, fam.
made in Georgia.
I am never gonna tell you. That will probably impel you. If you know everything about it, you are not gonna like it. But 2 words, there you got it. And 2 minutes later, we didn't know what we had started. Our mind that could speak to another. Designed to constantly see through each other. You love that, you know that. 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 I have thought about this moment. Really thought I could control it. So many chances I have blown. At least I'm not doing it alone. 'Cause 2 words, there you got it. And 2 minutes later, we didn't know what we had started. Our mind that will speak to another. Decide